thing that is common between all three of you is you are all catering to a young audience.
One challenge in Pakistan in e-commerce, especially for Bacha Party, is that shopping is an event. It's an outing.
So that's how the whole story of Legends Arena started.
That has been solved through Raptr. We just sent few people for a tournament in Singapore. We just sponsored and sent people to Malaysia. Came out to be an astounding $527 million a year in
This
Pakistan
is how much Pakistani spend
on gaming, right?
But gaming में क्या-क्या
मैं
include
बताता
होगा इसमें?
हूँ.
हाँ.
Good question. उसमें से $220 million डिजिटल कमोडिटीज पे खर्च होगा. पंजाब के छोटे शहर से लेके बड़े शहर तक आप रोड ट्रिप लेके ट्रैवल करें, आपको टूटी फूटी बिल्डिंग इमारतों में और इलाकों में भी ना टेकन के मल्टीपल अरीना नजर आएंगे.
Padel is, it's very addictive. If you get a hang of it and if you play with similar level के अपने players के साथ आप खेल रहे हो ना, तो आपको एक addiction हो जाती है उसके ऊपर.
Basically, Irtugal was really famous at that time. So we just taught them कि यहाँ पे हाथ रख के बस सलाम करना.
लेकिन मैं सिर्फ गेमिंग जोन की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं भी फिर गेमिंग की स्टिग्मा की बात कर रहा हूँ कि घर पे भी बच्चा खेल रहा है तो आपको जहर लग रहा है. क्यों भाई?
So you cannot give a la land to your investors saying that you're gonna do this. Eventually, if it happens, it happens. Very good.
Thanks so much for coming, guys. This is ये मैंने एक नई सीरीज शुरू की है पॉडकास्ट की एंड शोज़ की, जिसमें हम बेसिकली हम ये चाह रहे हैं कि जो एंटरप्रेन्योर्स हैं या वॉन्टरप्रेन्योर्स हैं जो बिजनेस स्टार्ट करना चाहते हैं और वो इसी स्पेस में आके कुछ करना चाहते हैं, तो उनको एक हम एग्जिस्टिंग फाउंडर्स से एक एक्शनेबल इंसाइट्स उनको दे सकें, उनको एक्चुअल प्रैक्टिकल ओपिनियंस भी दे सकें और उनको वे फॉरवर्ड भी दे सकें अगर उनको इस तरह का कोई बिजनेस बनाना है. The thing that is common between all three of you is you are all catering to a young audience. Like, Pakistan mein, I think, 60-70% of Pakistan is under the age of 35. And I think 40% of Pakistan is under the age of 16. And that's all three of you, like, your target market. और आप सबके सब को एक recreational, एक service offer कर रहे हैं. So let's start with your life stories. I'm meeting, I know Imran from before, but I'm meeting you guys now. And I would love to learn about how you stumbled on this business and how you got to where you are. So starting with Ahmer.
Yeah, so thank you so much. So my name is Ahmer. I'm the director at Bacha Party. My story is pretty simple, actually. I studied from Canada. I came back. And when I came back with the mindset कि business start करना है. सही है. और रिटेल बैकग्राउंड था हमारा, कज़न्स वगैरह, चाचा वगैरह, अबू वगैरह, they were in retail from a very young age. तो just stumbled upon this idea randomly. एक थी दिमाग में चीज़ कि बच्चों की डेमोग्राफिक्स बहुत ज़्यादा हैं यहाँ पे, बहुत ज़्यादा बच्चे हैं और उनको उस तरह से केटर नहीं किया जा रहा. When you look right left, you see a lot of brands, you see a lot of places for adults, and kids is an afterthought. तो हमने सोचा क्यों ना एक बच्चों की जगह बनाई जाए जहाँ पे उनको 100% प्रायोरिटी दी जाए. So that's kind of how I stumbled on the idea. Then we opened the first store और alhamdulillah अल्लाह के शुक्र से idea click हुई. Then we opened our second store and inshallah next month we're about to open our 11th store now.
Wow.
So we started our journey in 2016 and in 8 years alhamdulillah we're going to be opening our 11th store and we have existence on e-commerce as well.
Okay, nice. But one thing you said, जो मुझे थोड़ी stick out की थी, was कि when you came back after studying, you grew up in Karachi, right?
I did.
So when you came back, you said कि business ही start करना है. Why?
So that it's basically business मेरे DNA में है.
Okay.
सही है. तो बचपन से अबू, चाचा, cousins सब business में ही थे और जो मेरी life story है ना, जब मैं स्कूल में था तो था कि I want to get experience, I want to get educated, I want to get experience, but eventually दिमाग में यही था और सिखाया भी यही गया था कि आपको business ही करना है. तो that kind of stuck. When I was in Canada, I was working for 2 Fortune 50 companies.
Where did you work?
I was working at Target and I was working at Home Depot within their supply chain and finance and e-commerce departments. Okay. So I learned a lot from there. That was my biggest learning basically, and I kind of tried to pick those things up from there and किसी तरह से यहाँ पे उसको implement करा दें.
Makes sense.
So yeah, so the values that I learned from there, the way the business is done, the way the forecasting and planning is done, the financials, all of that. So I kind of try to implement that over here.
And that's what got you more interested in retail as well. कि वहाँ पे भी retail ही सीखा था, and you were like यहाँ पे भी मैं retail ही वो करूँगा. And what's your family का
Yeah,
retail?
so Chase
Okay, yeah,
department
okay,
stores.
fine,
So that's
yeah.
my family background. My
Okay, okay,
dad, my tayas, and my chachas, my cousins, all of them were part of that. So A levels, O levels, summer holidays I used to spend at Chase.
Okay,
So
fine. So-
business and retail was in the DNA.
सही है, ठीक है.
So when I was over there, I got that opportunity. Target was opening 124 stores in Canada in 1 year. That has never happened in the history of retail. So I got an opportunity to work there. I was one of the first few employees. So I got to experience starting and building up a Fortune 50 company from scratch in a different country.
Yeah.
So
And
that was-
similar-ish country as well, like US से similar
Yeah,
ही था,
yeah,
but still, but you got
Yeah.
to like be one of the early employees.
So that was a
That's
great experience. So I kind of came here. I was traveling to China with my cousin, and literally in a few seconds, that idea came up that there should be a store for kids called Bacha Party. And, I kind of pitched that idea to my family. There was a lot of resistance in the start. They were like, Chase karo, Chase, mein kya masla hai, all of that. But then I had to push. It took me 3 months to convince them. And then finally we opened in 2016.
Oh, wow. Okay. And what was the reluctance?
What was their reluctance? Basically, one of the sentence I used to get was, जो चलती गाड़ी है उसमें चढ़ जाओ, क्यों नया पहिया क्यों री-इजाद करना है?
It makes sense.
तो बस वो था, मतलब कि then मेरा ये कहना था कि मैं पढ़ के आया हूँ, एक्सपीरियंस गेन करके आया हूँ, तो क्या फ़ायदा? मतलब सही है, एक चलती हुई गाड़ी में चल सकते हैं, but the returns you get from a new idea, और एक नई चीज़ करते हैं,
सही.
एक opportunity है तो नई चीज़ करते हैं. So that paid off.
ठीक है. Okay, Talal, what about you?
So my name is Talal. Basically, we started. My main background is from construction. So that's why I started about 15 years ago.
So you were born and raised in Karachi?
Born and raised in Karachi. Then I went to UK for my bachelor's.
Okay.
So in my final year, my dad passed away, so I had to quickly finish off the studies. मुझे बार-बार counselors बोल रहे थे कि आखिरी साल skip कर लो. मैंने कहा already family business है. एक बार घुस गया तो ये degree नहीं बनेगी.
सही है.
So eventually went back. It was a main contracting company specializing with the military mostly to do construction projects. I had no clue. I am not from engineering background.
सही.
So it was something which wasn't exciting me too much. So sports was always a passion. So eventually we started specializing in making sports facilities for different universities, military or different clients.
ठीक है.
So that's where the company basically made a shift from a mainstream line construction company to a sport facility contracting company making a turnkey project in all sorts of sports facilities.
So किस तरह की sports facilities?
So we've done a lot of hockey ground, football grounds, swimming pools,
Okay,
tennis
fine.
courts.
ठीक है.
So till date we have done over say 1,000 squash courts. People say, do we have so much? So there are more than 1,000. Then we got the culture of getting in the tennis courts, which are similar to the US and Australian Open. We've done a lot of those. Those are more than 300 as well. So ये करते करते finally, I mean, the vision was always there to make your own facility. जब भी किसी facility पे जाके देखते थे तो लोग कहते थे यार this is the best this city has. And I would always question, this can't be the best. I mean, this has a population of 30 million people and you tell me that this little ground is the best ground to play football, cricket or whatever sport. So the search to find a piece of land was for like 5 years. So every time I would pitch to anybody to give me a piece of land, like this is not a business. It's going to take a while. Then eventually DHA got convinced on the idea because people at the time who were heading DHA were passionate about sports.
अच्छा.
And this place which we got in Khada market had been redundant for God knows how many years.
Very long time.
Ever since I think
Greenwich के पास होता था.
ever since Greenwich, I think they adopted the land. Ever since they got disengaged, it was used for one-off शादी event or कोई carnival हो जाता था उसके ऊपर. So they happily handed it over. They like take it. So that's how the whole story of Legends Arena started. We got it in 23 of January, and we were functional say by September 3rd. So it's been 1 year now. So we had a 1 year anniversary
अच्छा,
to see
like
other
what surprise, like so did you do it alone या उसमें फिर आपके साथ partners भी थे
Yeah.
या और लोग भी
So
थे?
I have so we are like 4 co-founders.
Okay.
So we have a very big name along with us, which is Jahangir Khan, the squash legend.
Of course, yeah.
So he's our founder and also the chairman of the company. So usually when he walks into a certain office with a plan, people usually don't say no to him.
Okay. No, that's
So,
yeah,
so
that's a big one.
he's the guy because of who that land deal got locked.
ठीक है.
And plus
How did you meet Jahangir Khan?
So Jahangir Khan and us go a long way back. So he was a good friend with my dad. Plus with the squash facility upgradations which we do, he was always part of it. Because there's no bigger athlete in the country till date.
Or the biggest squash player in the world ever, right?
With
Like,
his 555 streak of not losing a match, 555 matches,
unmatched, yeah.
and non-stoppable. And मैं कभी पूछता नहीं. Apparently he retired at the age of 28.
What? Yeah, I think. But पहले sportsmen पहले जल्दी retire भी हो जाते थे, right? Like पहले नहीं इतना last कर पाते थे. Footballers भी नहीं इतना last कर पाते थे. But अब तो एक और ही level पे वो आ गए. But wow. So yeah, so you finally leveraged that.
Yeah, so
relationship,
the whole expertise. So the easiest part for us was that me being expert in making a sport facility. So that was a very smooth run to develop a piece of land. The difficult part was shifting from a construction background to an operational model.
हाँ, वो मुझे समझ
That's something which took us a lot of time. We're still learning on that. But
because construction में तो आप बना के बोल के चले गए ना, बस अब आगे खुद चलाओ उसको. But इसमें तो now you are running it, you are doing everything, and you are
the operational model. The first 3 months were a nightmare. Honestly, हम एक एक्सेल शीट के ऊपर बैठे हुए होते थे, बुकिंग ले रहे होते थे.
सही.
और हर दिन ना एक तमाशा होता था लेजेंड्स पे कि ओवर बुकिंग हो गई.
अच्छा, मतलब डबल
बुकिंग हो जाए. एक्सेल शीट इज नॉट अ प्लेटफॉर्म वेयर यू कैन cater for 1,000 people coming in a day. तो किसी को फ्री स्पॉट फिर दे रहे हैं, फ्री स्लॉट्स ऑफर हो रहा है, किसी से नेगोशिएट करवाया, यार आधा घंटा तुम खेल लो, आधा घंटा ये खेल लेगा. तो पीपल आर वेरी अकोमोडेटिंग इन दैट सेंस. देन इवेंचुअली वी बॉट अ सॉफ्टवेयर टू रिमूव आवर वरीज. So now mashallah say it's crisp, and the good part is we are open till whatever time you get the booking.
So and what time? It's like 24 hours.
Yeah, so weekends is almost 24 hours. On weekdays it's about 4 a.m. is our cut-off time usually.
अच्छा, और फिर सबसे पहला टाइम कब स्टार्ट
6 a.m.
6 a.m. So वही 2 घंटे, so 22 hours literally.
So new shifts comes in at 6 a.m.
Wow, and हर वक्त बुक, like जब भी मैंने देखा है तो बुक नहीं मिला है मुझे कभी.
देखिए पैडल कोर्ट, initially when we started, हमने जब शुरू किया तो पैडल कोर्ट मेरे ओरिजिनल प्लान में 3 थे.
Okay.
मैं भी थोड़ा सा था, मैंने कहा यार पैडल, because I personally got in paddle as a sport in the arena. Paddle was initially not part of the plan.
How did you get into paddle as well?
I played paddle once about 4-5 years ago in Dubai.
Okay.
And being a tennis player, I got hooked on to it because tennis के अंदर ना, Ahmer and me have played tennis a lot and I have never won against it. So all 3 of his brother would win all the 3 categories. जो age category होती थी ना, ये तीनों भाई वो category जीत जाते थे. मैं मुश्किलों से कहीं semi-final में पहुंच गया तो पहुंच गया, वरना that was the best. So my tennis game was very average. So paddle जब मैंने खेला with people who had not played racket sport, and said I had a background of playing a racket sport. On the first day of the game, and I batched them all, I was like, this is good. I'm very good at it. So paddle is, it's very addictive. If you get a hang of it, and if you play with similar level के अपने players के साथ आप खेल रहे हो ना, तो आपको एक addiction हो जाती है उसके ऊपर.
सही.
तो वहाँ से पैडल आया. हमने फिर 2 कोर्ट्स इनिशियली प्लान करे. जब खोला कोर्ट तो पैडल पे आहिस्ता आहिस्ता जिनने खेला हुआ था बाहर जाके वो पैडल में आने शुरू हुए. इवेंचुअली द पैडल कोर्ट्स बिकेम द कैश काउ ऑफ द अरीना. सो वी क्विकली एडेड अ थर्ड वन. देन देखे देखे हमने कहा ये तो 3 भी पूरे नहीं हो रहे. फिर JKC पे हम लोग ने 2 खोले इन कश्मीर रोड, वो भी फुल हो गए. फिर लाइक लेट्स ओपन अ 4th वन. वी ओपन द 4th वन, 4th भी फुल हो गया. Because this is not stopping. We went on to the 5th, no stoppage over there. Then we added 2, a month ago we added 2 more. So now we have 7 courts, which are practically running on an average 18 hours a day.
18 hours a day, all 7 of them are booked out. अच्छा, इसकी economics क्या होती है generally, broadly speaking, how much does a paddle court cost to make?
Okay. So a paddle court is more or less, so what we've done is we've customized it in a way that it's 50-50. It's 50% of the import, and we are manufacturing the remaining over here. So
in Pakistan?
Yeah. So all the steel structure of the paddle court is manufactured over in Pakistan.
Okay, सही है.
The surface which we get is from UK. And
Surface is the ground.
the artificial grass.
Artificial grass, ठीक है.
And the glass is imported, but it's tempered locally.
अच्छा, ठीक है.
So it's a mixture of both import and local thing. But if you get the whole court from Spain or even China, it's going to cost you a lot more money. But we standardized it in a way that we are now at par. I mean, if you want, we can even export the paddle courts. They're that good.
Really?
Yeah.
And is that something you're considering as well?
We could, but the local demand is so high right now.
अच्छा कि export
Because
नहीं है.
only legends के ऊपर तो हम लोग कर रहे काम, since my other company is also functional in this way. So we've almost reaching a threshold of 50 courts in 6 months. So we've already
And this
either
is all over
supplied
Pakistan or just Karachi?
all over Pakistan.
Okay, fine.
Either we have just supplied or which are under production. Paddle court का ये है कि every other day either we get a call or an email that we want to open a sports arena.
सही.
क्योंकि ये एक बड़ा बैरियर था, क्योंकि आप अक्सर सुनते हैं ना कि if you open something and you get to hear people, यार ये तो I had this idea in mind, 5 साल से मैंने खोलना था, तो वो अब risk factor negate हो गया. They seen the thing has worked. Now people are more comfortable in going in the same field of business, and I think there's a big market still. Dubai एक अगर benchmark ले लें, it's what 8 million. If you add tourists and all, at a time it's
Maybe
UAE
10,
is a 8 million population.
yes.
They have 950 courts.
950 paddle courts.
They have 950 paddle courts
But you're talking about all over UAE.
all over UAE. They have
Just
nine-
Dubai alone or say Abu
Dubai
Dhabi?
should have about major chunk should be Dubai, would be 60% should be Dubai itself.
Wow. Okay.
So उसके अंदर भी अब वहाँ saturation point आ गया है, तो उसमें categorize हो गई हैं अब. So which facility is A, tier 1, B, C. Eventually Karachi or whole of Pakistan will eventually categorize itself in terms of कौन सी facility कहाँ है. हमें थोड़ा सा advantage ये, we are just not a paddle facility. So we have paddle courts, we have futsal, we have cricket. So a jogging track है, gym building is now coming up next month, and a big children's play area, which is going to be first of its kind.
ठीक है, ठीक है. No, this is excellent. I'll come back more to it. I also want to bring Imran into the conversation. So Imran, just a bit of your background and how did you get to Raptr Games and eSports?
Yeah, so my name is Imran Khan, and I'm basically a technologist, and that's what I've been my entire life. But alongside that, ever since I remember maybe 2-3 years old, I've always been fascinated by video games. So that's something that's gone parallel in my life alongside my progression in tech or professionally. Always been a gamer, always would write for the school paper, write for the college paper on gaming in university में gaming society में participate करना. So that was as a passion that was always there, and I was very deep into it. Even after I got married, even after I had kids, उनको introduce करना gaming पे. But career-wise, it was very, very core technical. In my past life from Raptr, I started Pakistan's first cloud computing company back in 2011 called Rapid Compute. Ran it as co-founder and MD till 2022. And after I took an exit, I just thought, यार क्या करना चाहिए? And that's when I met you. And I said, क्या करना चाहिए? And I think the advice that my father gave me and my wife gave me, and then you in some way gave me, was, dude, what is the next thing you're passionate about? Because I was very passionate about technology. So it's not like कि मैंने किसी के कहने पे technology की थी. मैंने अपने शौक से technology का अपना career बनाया था. And I went like gaming. And then I thought, but if I want to do a business around gaming, what's the real gap in the market? Like a business always addresses a need, right? Or either creates a new one, but primarily addresses a need. And I said, the one thing that when I've written about games or done esports or done community setups, there just aren't enough of these events and these entertainment spaces for kids to really explore gaming as a career or as a serious pastime, right? So for example, Legends में अगर लोग पैडल बॉल खेलते हैं, ज़रूरी नहीं कि वो पैडल बॉल में करियर बनाना चाह रहे हो, but they can still put in 3 hours a day, every day, just because they love doing it. It's good for their soul, it's good for their, whatever their mental well-being or anything of that sort. And then फिर हमने जाके, and so Raptr started summer of 2022, and we wanted to find out what the gap in the market is, what we need to do. So we said we'll travel the country, at least the major hotspots, Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Peshawar, Multan, Balpur, Gujranwala, and Hyderabad, Sakhar. And we said, let's find out what is the gaming scene today in terms of, spaces for people and activity. And we found that rather than other things like restaurants and malls that over the last 15 years had actually grown in number in all cities across Pakistan, gaming zones had actually declined by almost 80%.
Do you have the number on how many gaming zones there were and then
Yeah.
how much?
So there used to be at around 2006, 2007, there were more than 3,700 gaming zones.
In Pakistan?
No, in just the main cities.
In just like Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad?
Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad, Peshawar,
Okay.
Multan, Bahawalpur.
That still doesn't seem like a big number though.
No, for 2006-7 it was.
They were only PC centric.
Yeah.
हाँ,
2006-7
सारे
it was.
Counter-Strike
It
वगैरह
was a
ये.
significant number back then because you have to understand at that time PCs had not made its way into every household. Right? It was a significant number back then.
Yeah.
And then when you coupled in these casual gaming zones that opened up in clubs and all of that, तो ये number almost 5,000 पे चले गया था. Today you'd be surprised that there are less than 1,500.
क्यों? लोग मोबाइल गेमिंग पे
Multiple reasons. Thank you for asking that. The number one contributor to the decline of gaming zones were three. One, dollar value. The cost of setting up the equipment for gaming was a lot more expensive than the ARPU that they could make from a customer.
ARPU क्या होता है?
Average revenue per user, right? So for example, back in the day, खड्डा मार्केट में Solid Clan जो था, वो पूरा गेमिंग पीसी आज के हिसाब से अगर मैं रिलेटिव बताऊं, तो आज के पैसों के हिसाब से लाख रुपए में बना लेता था. तो वो 100 रुपए घंटा लेता था. आज पीसी 5 लाख रुपए का बनता है, लेकिन वो 600 रुपए घंटा नहीं ले सकता. वो आज भी 250 रुपए घंटा लेता है. That's one factor, right? That's one. Number two, since 2012, 2013, you've taken a hit on your imports. It's extremely difficult to get in large volume of consistent supply of high-end gaming electronic equipment without any hassle at customs.
Graphics
और
cards भी महंगे हो
LCs,
गए
graphics cards भी महंगे हो गए. अच्छा, अभी उस पे नहीं आया मैं, ठीक है? तो जनरली इंपोर्ट मुश्किल हो गई ना. गवर्नमेंट का स्टैंस बदल गया, डॉलर क्यों जा रहे हैं, तो लग्जरी आइटम है. फिर बिटकॉइन केम इन. Graphic cards became incredibly difficult to get, right? फिर गवर्नमेंट को भी समझ में आ गई. फिर उन्होंने अज्यूम करना शुरू किया कि हर ग्राफिक कार्ड वाला वकार ज़का बनना चाह रहा है. जबकि ऐसा नहीं है. Just buying a graphic card doesn't make you a Bitcoin miner. तो ये एक चीज़ हुई. अच्छा, उसके बाद बिजली महंगी हो गई. Abhorrently महंगी हो गई. कूलिंग, बिजली महंगी हो गई. फ्यूल महंगा हो गया. जनरेटर चलाना महंगा हो गया. बिकॉज धंधा चलाने के लिए 24 घंटे साइबर कैफे ने खुला रहना है.
ठीक है.
So you had these operational issues, really onslaught of these, one after the other. तो लोगों ने कहा यार छोड़ो यार, सही है. अच्छा, उसी के साथ साथ मोबाइल सस्ते होने लग गए और मोबा की तरफ शिफ्ट हो गया. And the Chinese came in and the Vietnamese came in and they pushed PUBG, Free Fire and all of these things. So what happened was something, let me assure you, something which was still very much in demand died a very artificial death because nobody was willing to run it as a business. समझ रहा मेरी बात?
Yeah.
And with all due respect to both of these gentlemen, this is not a business that their families with all the money they had would do. If they would have done it, it would have become a booming industry. Right? Like if the people had Chase or the Tabbas with Lucky One or the Legend. But इनके लिए ये धंधा गेमिंग तो गुनाह कबीरा था ना. गेमिंग क्या करना, आप कौन करेगा? So we started going around, right? And then we saw कि यार गेमिंग नहीं हो रही, ये नहीं हो रहा. लेकिन हमने देखा कि converse or inversely, whatever you call it, the number of gamers had reached 34 million online gamers in Pakistan.
कब का फिगर?
2022.
2022.
बट आई थिंक एक और चीज डिक्लाइन का रीजन ये भी बन सकता है जो मेरे नज़र में बना है कि इमेजिन अ 24-25-year-old kid who's wasted 8 years doing gaming. There was no platform to make an earning out of
मैं
it.
उसी पे आ रहा हूँ, right? So demand was there. 34 million online gamers. By the end of this year, is projected to go to 43 million online gamers, right? So if you're talking online, तो इसमें अब ये सवाल ना पूछेगा pirated कितने, इसमें pirated कोई नहीं है.
हाँ,
ये online
है,
gamers
सारे
हैं.
online
ठीक है.
हैं.
ये सारे वो लोग जो किसी न किसी तरीके से माइक्रो ट्रांजैक्शंस करते हैं. ये 2022 की बात है. फिर हमने कहा यार पता कराते हैं खर्चा कितना होता है. It's a good proxy indicator, right? To get into a business case, business में लोग कितना खर्चते हैं. Mastercard, Visa, Bank Al-Falah, UBL, HBL, investors, the number came out to be astounding. $527 million a year in Pakistan.
How much Pakistani spend on
gaming, right?
But gaming में क्या क्या
मैं
include
बताता
होगा इसमें?
हूँ.
हाँ.
Good question. उसमें से $220 मिलियन डिजिटल कमोडिटीज पे खर्च हो रहा था. पबजी के कॉइन, फ्री फायर के कॉइन, फीफा के यूसी whatever कॉइन्स, PlayStation वाउचर, Nintendo, Xbox, Robux, V-Bucks, right? और almost 310 million was on related physical commodities, PC, graphic card, console, and gaming related merchandise, mouse, keyboard, headphone, neon RGB lights, or whatever they call it. This number should end this year at close to 600 million, if not more. ये documented है.
So पाकिस्तानी $600 million खर्च करते हैं साल के, और इस साल के एंड में खर्च कर रहे होंगे on gaming assets, which you just explained all of them, etc.
Right?
अच्छा, yeah, go ahead.
So if you understand our predicament from an analysis point of view, gaming zone और public spaces कम हो रहे हैं, player 43 million पे चले गए, खर्चा historic level पे हो रहा है, inflation high है लेकिन खर्चा हर साल बढ़ रहा है 11 से 13%, ठीक है? Inflation भी बढ़ रही है, but suddenly you coming at a realization that this is an industry, much like food, that is just not being impacted, right? Because cell phones सस्ते हो रहे हैं, data plans सस्ते हो रहे हैं, MOBA की rise हो रही है, अच्छा. And now this is happening in 2022. And then we see an historic investment in the country by the likes of Krafton and Garena, who just pushed PUBG and Free Fire to a point where every driver, every student, every peon, every food panda rider, everybody was just gaming and purchasing commodities, right? And it gave, and if I was to really thank someone, it would be to thank these two companies for really making people sit up and notice that this could be an industry. So that's when we decided at Raptr, yeah, now that is the problem we're going to solve. We are going to tackle the problem of a fragmented eSports ecosystem where you've got this amazing talent जो घर पे बैठे हुए ऑनलाइन तो खेल रहा है और टूर्नामेंट जीत रहा है $50 $100 वाले, लेकिन अपने मुल्क में उसी को औकात नहीं है. And we said that's what we're diving into. So we set about creating a platform that homogenized all these gamers, brought them onto one platform called Raptr.gg and gave them all a national digital ID. You are all KYC'd, you're now all in the database, and now every time there's going to be an international local tournament, and then we saw people like Arsalan reach the meteoric heights.
How many are on your platform?
Abhi 3,000.
3,000.
Right? And that's a very small number because we're just in pilot right now.
Arsalan Ash is the Tekken champion.
Tekken champion. Atif is the Tekken champion. Khan
World.
is the Tekken champion. World,
World,
yeah. Atif is the Tekken champion.
स्कॉश की तरह पाकिस्तान में टेकन है, उसको ले लिया है सबने, एंड नाउ
जैसा आप 555 बोलते हैं ना, तो Arsalan has the 2 5s, 5 Evos and 5 Evo Japans. Nobody's ever done that in the history of Tekken. And Tekken
How old
has
is
been
he?
around. Arsalan is about 28.
Okay.
And Tekken has been around since 1996.
Okay.
So nobody in the history of Tekken has done 5 5s.
अच्छा मुझे एक बात बताओ, like just if I were to estimate Arsalan, तो चलो मैं कहूँगा top end use case में, उसमें आके ना, but how much does an esports gamer like Arsalan make?
I think,
If you just estimate, of course. Yeah.
देखिए, Arsalan is an anomaly.
हाँ, मैं चलो anomaly से start
So
करते हैं.
I can quote you a number based on to create inspiration around it.
Yeah.
But let's be clear, that's not the.
But I just want to know
medium.
what the ceiling is, right? Yeah.
It can go up to 6 to 7 million a month.
6 to 7 million rupees a month.
Oh, rupees a month.
Okay, fine. And that's how much say someone like Arsalan can make.
Can make.
जो
Right?
उसके बाद
And
जो
this
level
is stuff
का है,
that we would know about. I wouldn't have data on international endorsements. Those
Achha.
data would never make its way here. Okay, what he wears on his jersey when he goes to Las Vegas, or what he wears on his jersey when he goes to Singapore, those would be regional endorsements. We would never get data of that. We would never know because they wouldn't pertain to us. So maybe it's more than this. Maybe it's twice this.
And
Maybe it's
these
three
gamers get sponsored as well.
जी जी वही तो मैं कह रहा हूँ आपसे.
तो
So
इनकी
प्राइस
source of
मनी से
income-
अलग है और सोर्स ऑफ प्राइमरी इनकम स्पॉन्सरशिप्स होती है क्योंकि वो मंथली होती है, वो लॉन्ग टर्म होती है.
अच्छा प्राइस मनी कितना होता है typically
देखिए
tournament?
प्राइस मनी इंटरनेशनली एनीवेयर बिटवीन $1 लाख से $5 लाख.
$5 लाख चैंपियन.
So रियाद में लास्ट ईयर 5 लाख मिले थे, which was split 3 ways between him, Atif and Khan.
because वो टीम
They won the Nations Cup. Because it was Pakistan Nations
अच्छा
Cup.
नेशंस कप था.
वो Nations Cup था. इस साल भी Nations Cup ही होगा. तो Arsalan himself has won almost $350,000 per tournament. उसमें से a significant portion goes to the team owner, just like it does with the PSL and everything else, and the remaining stays with the.
And who decides who plays for the nation? Is there a platform there?
No, there's no platform
So there's
there.
interconnection of gamers individually.
So there's a very loose connection, and you know क्योंकि fragmented ecosystem है तो पता चली जाता है कि यार Arsalan जाएगा, ये जाएगा, ये
and
जाएगा.
that could be solved through Raptr now.
That has been solved through Raptr. We just sent few people for a tournament in Singapore. We just sponsored and sent people to Malaysia, and we just not sponsored, but we enabled the 2 teams to be the Valorant champions in Pakistan on August the 17th. We did a tournament, and that was all through our platform. Teams registered and everything. So that's so. But generally speaking, and अगर आप allow करें तो मैं demographic की बात कर दूँ थोड़ा यहाँ पे, because that's very very interesting, and it might be interesting to you and to you, maybe more so to you because you have a much deeper SEC penetration. देखिए एज ग्रुप बड़ी फैसिनेटिंग है. एज ग्रुप कंपेटिटिव ई स्पोर्ट्स पे 10 ऑफिशियली यू नॉट अलाउड टू से 10-11 साल, आप 13 साल कहते हैं, लेट्स बी क्लियर हियर, 10-11 साल से कंपेटिटिव ई स्पोर्ट्स शुरू होती है एंड अपर लिमिट कोई नहीं है, बट यूजुअली आप कहते हैं कि मेजॉरिटी लाई बिटवीन द 11-12 to 28-30-31 years of age demographic. But what's more exciting is the socio-economic demographic. Now, for example, जब आप Tekken के tournament करते हैं, Tekken is one of the most popular games in the country. So the majority of the people who make it to the upper echelons are not, including Arsalan, including Atif, they're not your white, they're not your
upper income group,
upper income, blue chip kind of family backgrounds. They are people who learned to speak Urdu much later in life because they were so deeply rural Punjab, and I don't say that in a bad way, that they didn't ever feel the need to be fluent in Urdu or English or anything. And kudos to them, they've really now represented us on the international stage. But they were so good. मगर जब आप देखते हैं टेकन में कौन वो लोग हैं जो नंबर 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 और नीचे जो आते हैं, फूड पैंडा राइडर्स, TCS राइडर्स, तंदूर वाले, खोखे वाले, स्टॉल वाले, सुबह कोई पढ़ रहा है, शाम में कोई खेल रहा है. And there's this great place in Lahore called Maniacs. It's the ultimate representation of a community gaming zone if there ever was one. Right? उसमें सारे बैठे होते हैं और आप किसी से भी रैंडमली आके पूछते हैं तुम क्या करते हो, वो बोलेगा सारी सुबह फूड पैंडे की डिलीवरी करता हूँ, 10 बजे मैं खत्म करता हूँ अपना काम और यहाँ आ जाता हूँ और खेलता हूँ. और मेरी किस्मत अच्छी हो तो और सलान भी आ जाते हैं, उनसे कुछ सीख लेता हूँ, और आते भी आ जाते हैं तो उनसे कुछ सीख लेता हूँ.
Why do you think that is?
Excellent question, right? So the reason why Tekken has, and allow me to just complete that thought, and you see the same SEC penetration in PUBG and Free Fire as well. Okay? And it's simply because of the country that you are in, the economic basket situation, is that the barrier to entry to these games is extremely low. अब आप अंदरून पंजाब में जाएंगे ना, अच्छा टेकन हमारे मुल्क में नॉर्मली है, दैट इज वाई हमारे मुल्क से चैंपियन निकल रहे हैं. बाकी मुल्कों में आर्केड में टेकन दीवानगी के साथ नहीं खेला जाता. आपके मुल्क में गरीबी इतनी है कि टेकन एक धंधा बन चुका है. पंजाब के छोटे शहर से लेकर बड़े शहर तक आप रोड ट्रिप लेकर ट्रैवल करें, आपको टूटी फूटी बिल्डिंग इमारतों में और इलाकों में भी ना टेकन के मल्टीपल अरीना नजर आएंगे जिन्होंने चाइना से बोर्ड इंपोर्ट करके खुद कैबिनेट्स कंस्ट्रक्ट करके टेकन खेल रहे होंगे लोग. सो द बैरियर टू एंट्री फॉर द पोर मैन is non-existent. He can go to any ilaka anywhere in Punjab, and that's the hot. Punjab is the hot. Weirdly enough, Punjab is the hotbed for Tekken, and Karachi is the hotbed for Street Fighter 6. I have no idea why that is the case. It is just the way it is. ठीक है? And तो एक तो ये हुआ. So that is why आपके पास पंजाब से वो तंग आ जाते हैं. ईवो वाले भी यार, पाकिस्तान से नए प्लेयर इस बार नया आ गया, नुमान चौधरी का आ गया जिसने अरसलान को हरा दिया, फिर उससे पहले हाफिज नदीम आ गया. दे ये आ कहाँ से रहे लोग? Because there is just, it's like a factory. There is just no barrier, right? PUBG और फ्री फायर में क्यों सारी यही SEC आती है आपके पास? क्योंकि PUBG और फ्री फायर ने हमारे मुल्क और हमारे जैसे मुल्क को नजर रख के ऐसा गेम बनाया है जो 20,000 के मुकाबले भी बेहतरीन चलता है. सही है. और उन्होंने टेलको से डील ऐसे कर लिए कि 200 रुपये महीने का डेटा प्लान होता है, उसमें लोग खेलते हैं. बैरियर्स इतने कम हो गए हैं कि एवरीबडी. क्रिकेट क्यों चलता है? क्रिकेट का बैट आपको 500 रुपये का भी मिल जाता है और 50,000 का भी मिल जाता है. ठीक है. 500 रुपये क्रिकेट बैट लोड लेके रोड पे खेल रहे होते हैं. ऐसा ही है ना. फुटबॉल भी इसीलिए चलती है आपके मुल्क में. हॉकी एक जमाना में जो पॉपुलर थी वो भी इसीलिए चलती थी, हर गली कोने पे हॉकी स्टिक मिल जाती थी और टेनिस बॉल से खेलते थे आप हॉकी स्टिक. सो एंड दैट्स व्हाट वी सॉ, एंड सो दैट बिकेम द हाइपोथेसिस और थीसिस फॉर डूइंग व्हाट वी डिड. एंड 2 years later, if you follow us on YouTube or Meta or Facebook or LinkedIn, we very largely succeeded in understanding the market at least. कि हाँ यार, we put our eggs in this basket. We set an entire institution around it, and now we are very grateful that with the help of partners, we've managed to make the government wake up as well. Because you have to wake up. Abhi announce ho gaya globally that eSports from the next Olympics will be part of the Olympic Association. इस बार फ्रांस में भी announce हो गया है कि अगली बार eSports Olympics में होगा, which means
28 में
जी, which means आपके मुल्क में ना अब ये तीतर बटेर स्टाइल eSports नहीं हो सकता. You will have to bring it under the Pakistan Sports Federation, which will have to report to the Olympics Federation, जो आपके मुल्क में है Olympic Federation, जो भी करती है, you know, it is there.
और स्टैंडर्ड्स वगैरह सब कुछ अप्लाई होंगे.
So globally they've announced it at this कि अब तो आपको Olympics के level पे plan करना पड़ेगा. So the government has set up a task force. They have made a framework. They are wanting to invest. पैसे हैं नहीं आपको पता है, ठीक है? But अब we are at that cusp where if we, people like us, people like Hisham and others, if we show a little bit of stamina, we can actually push it to the point where it becomes a formalized industry. क्योंकि अभी होने लग गया है. We are representing 4-5 talents जिनको local banks और FMCGs ने ठीक ठाक महीने के पैसों पे endorsement deals पे उठाया हुआ है. We are working with banks and brands जो ठीक ठाक करोड़ 2 करोड़ रुपए के tournaments कर रहे हैं 2 महीने में एक दफा, हर 2 महीने में. So we are now getting to that point where people are realizing कब तक cricketers पे पैसा लगाते रहोगे, कब तक ये TV celebrities पे लगाते रहोगे. There is a greater ROI in endorsing and creating new heroes that have a much longer shelf life. And I don't mean to diss him, I'm just saying, Babar Azam pe aapne crores rupees lagaye, the guy has one bad tour, that's your money down the drain. Because now you sponsored someone who has massive Twitter toxicity riding on him, right? But if you invest in these girls and boys, you have someone who's relevant for at least 1.5 decades.
अच्छा, पाकिस्तान में कौन से गेम्स खेल रहे हैं सबसे ज्यादा?
5 गेम्स हैं.
कौन से 5 गेम्स हैं?
So अगर आप competitive landscape देखें मोबाइल से दूर, तो Valorant, CS2 and Tekken.
So these 3. उसके अलावा?
And FIFA to some extent. Yes.
CS2 is like the latest version which has come out,
जी,
right?
CSGO का latest version है CS2. So CS2, Valorant and Tekken are the largest where you would, and FIFA, yes. But FIFA, let's be very clear, is SECA.
And what console are they played on?
FIFA is played on PS5.
Okay.
Everything else on PC. And Tekken on PS5. Everything else on
PS5 पे करते हैं.
हाँ?
Tekken भी PS5 पे खेलते
PS5 पे
हैं.
करते हैं.
So ये जो इतने सारे जो गेमिंग जोन्स हैं जहाँ पे से वो शाम में फूड
उन्होंने PS4 या PS5 लगाए हैं.
अच्छा, उसने वो लगा के
या
उसने
नहीं
रिग बनाया हुआ है पूरा.
नहीं. So 2 चीजें जो थोड़े एफ्लुएंट हैं उन्होंने PS4 PS5 लगाए हुए हैं. जो सस्ते वाले हैं जो 50 रुपए लेते हैं उन्होंने एक्चुअल आर्केड बोर्ड्स चाइना से इंपोर्ट की हुई है और लकड़ी, जिस तरह मेरा रैप्टर वाले तुमने वो गेमिंग बोर्ड देखे.
Yeah, I remember seeing.
And it's the actual arcade Tekken that they're playing. That is why if you notice none of these guys can play with a joystick. Everybody brings their. अभी अरसलान जो हारा है पहले राउंड में पहला गेम, he was out of the tournament. Why? His stick broke.
Internationally, it's on the arcade machine.
No, it's on a console.
It's on the console.
But you are allowed, tournament में you are allowed to bring your own
Your stick.
arcade.
Your arcade stick.
So ये लोग जब जाते हैं, I've seen them, they bring their own thing. उसमें वही जो आपका
World Cup, last World Cup में Raptr sponsored था. Khan का stick had that Raptr sticker on it because we'd helped him take that. But yeah, so our mobile में PUBG and Free Fire. मतलब दूर. और तीसरा बताऊँ तुम हंसोगे. I think I've told you once it before. तीसरा most famous game on mobile is Truck Simulator.
Truck Simulator.
Truck Simulator. And I must mention this here because I have no clue as how to monetize it, but I want to share it because I just want you to understand the entertainment patterns. आप TikTok पे देखते हैं ना अजीब वाहियात चीज़ें आ रही होती हैं लेकिन उस पर भी लोग 2-2 मिलियन व्यूज होते हैं. So बस सिमुलेटर ये है कि खान साहब या एक पंजाबी साहब जो है सरदार जी, वो बस चला रहे हैं, उन्होंने कैमरा ऑन किया हुआ है और वो बस चला रहे हैं और वो लोग उनको सवाल पूछ रहे हैं और बातें कर रहे हैं. हाँ जी कितने जा रहे हो तुसी? हाँ मैं. एंड ही इज जस्ट टॉकिंग and he's cracking jokes and people are sending him messages and he's reading those messages and he has a stream.
This is live.
Live and it's an actual
8
person.
hours, bro.
8 hours of just live stream.
Live stream, mobile, right? And then and the slide and when they get like this dopamine hit from the response they're getting. So Truck Simulator is a very light game. It could run on a very sasta PC as well. So you'll see, just Google it on YouTube or YouTube it, and you'll see लोगों ने PC के साथ वो rig लगाया हुआ है, steering rig, और वेबकैम है और बनियान पहनी हुई और तुम सुनाओ ये वो फलाना सिराइकी में और पंजाबी पश्तो whatever man. One very important detail I asked the guys at Mindshare yesterday to guess. Can you guess what is the most widely spoken language on PUBG and Free Fire in Pakistan?
In Pakistan, Punjabi.
Okay.
Saraiki Punjabi. Yeah.
Probably Punjabi.
Pashto.
Pashto.
Pashto outweighs everybody by a factor of a minimum 2 to 1.
Wow.
पश्तो सबसे ज़्यादा बोली जाती है, उसकी एक सिंपल रीज़न है. पश्तो आफ्टर बलोचिस्तान KPK के जो सेकेंडरी सिटीज़ हैं दे आर आई वुड से अंडर डेवलप्ड, दे आर इन द डेवलपमेंटल स्टेज, राइट? सो दे आर मोस्टली कट ऑफ फ्रॉम देयर फैमिली मेम्बर्स हु आर इन द बिग सिटीज़. अच्छा, आपके मुल्क में माइग्रेशन ऑफ वर्कफोर्स सबसे ज़्यादा पश्तून की होती है, सबसे ज़्यादा सिंस द बिगिनिंग ऑफ टाइम, राइट? दे आर वेरी रिजिलियंट दैट वे, दे डोंट think twice before moving cities, moving provinces. So ये मुझे खुद फ्री फायर ने बताया. इसलिए आपके मुल्क में पबजी और फ्री फायर ने जो सबसे पहले 2 वॉइस पैक निकाले थे ना, वो एक वॉइस पैक निकाला था, कोई बड़ी मशहूर पश्तो सिंगर थी, फ्री फायर ने उसका वॉइस पैक निकाला था, और पबजी ने शाहीन आफरीदी का निकाला था पश्तो में और उर्दू. And so I asked them, I said, why is that the case? And they said, they use it as voice chat. Girls, guys, family members get together every evening. 10-15 लोग PUBG या Free Fire खेलते हैं.
खेलते हैं या बस लगा के बस वॉइस चैट कर रहे होते हैं?
आपस में खेले ना, खेल रहे हैं, actually खेल रहे हैं. They have hours racking in. But its audio is clear, it's free. So they're all talking and they're all chatting.
It's a more community based.
So you have to understand, which we have not been able to understand, what it means to these people to be able to do that, right?
It's a community, it's a bonding thing. Like, you know, it's the way I see it is it's more than just getting involved in a game for a small time. It's also कि यार तुमने कैसा खेल रहे हो, तुम्हारा किल रिकॉर्ड कैसा है, तुम कितने अच्छे स्किल प्लेयर हो वगैरह, जिस तरह हम बचपन में like खेलते थे.
And I'll cap it off with an example, then you can ask the other gentlemen as well. I often speak very fondly to you about this young kid I know who's taken a big punt. 24, 25 years of age.
Yeah.
Told his father, he got laid off in the Daraz downsizing. He was a genius at streaming and all of that. And he said कि यार मैंने बोला कि मेरी जिंदगी के लिए आपने जो भी रखा था ना, वो आप मुझे दे दें. I want to open a gaming zone. And his father went like, bro, पूरे गुलशन मुझे कहीं gaming zone नहीं, तुम क्या खोल रहे हो? उसने कहा, this is the idea I have in mind, this is what I learned, and this is what I'm going to do. And he opened up a gaming zone of 3,500 square feet right opposite Lasagna restaurant in Gulshan. Great location, right? And it's been 3 months. So 2 crore रुपए अपनी जेब से लगाए और अपने biggest punt a 24-year-old can take, right? And it's 3 months. He is making a profit. He seems to be on his way to recover his money in whatever his business plan did. And now he's looking at another spot in phase 8 because he said, जब मैंने खोला तो मैं घंटे-घंटे का पैकेज बेचता था. He said जो आसपास के फ्लैट के बच्चे थे ना, 9 साल, 10 साल, 11 साल, उनके बड़े भाई या पेरेंट्स उनको छोड़ जाते थे 3-3 घंटे के लिए कि दिस इज अ सेफ स्पेस, दे कैन सिट एंड प्ले निंटेंडो स्विच, उसे रखा हुआ या PlayStation 5, और 3-3 घंटे बाद आते थे. एंड द किड्स वुड कम every day because it was a safe freaking place for them to just hang out, have French fries, have limca. उसने basic खाना शाना रखा हुआ है. And he's like, I'm going to do this in phase 8 defense, I'm going to do this in PCHs. He's like, people are just like, यार जगह ही नहीं है, हमारे बच्चे कहाँ जाएं? सारा दिन घर पे बैठ के टिकटॉक कर रहे हैं और ये कर रहे हैं. So yeah, so these are real stories.
That's very interesting, right? And that's one thing that I wanted to ask you guys as well is कि आपका जो consumption decision है of someone who's a user of say either आप बच्चा पार्टी में कोई कुछ खरीदने आता है या लेजेंड्स अरीना में कोई बच्चा आता है ऐसे वहाँ पे खेलने के लिए, वो खेलना तो या टॉय तो बच्चे ने खरीदना है, राइट? लेकिन जो एक्चुअल डिसीजन है उसके पेरेंट्स ने लेना है, राइट? सो हाउ हैव यू सीन like द millennial parents, I would say, or like say somewhat older than millennial parents आके वो आपके actual customers हैं and जो consumption patterns हैं वो बच्चों के. So how have you seen that dynamic play out in Pakistan? What do you think has changed? Let's start with the Bacha part.
Yeah, so I think with us, we're very lucky. You know, we kind of target everyone. We target the masses, even the upper class comes, the Sec A, Sec B, Sec C, everyone comes. So we're very lucky in that way that we don't really have to target one particular sec. The other thing is that बच्चों की shopping है. You know, बच्चों के लिए, like the way it works is that when you get your salary, you shop for your kid first, then for your wife, and then जो बच जाएगा फिर आप अपने ऊपर खर्च करोगे. So we're very lucky like that in terms of our market. बच्चों की है, you know, and बच्चों का, you know, कपड़े they're changing all the time.
Yeah.
So you have to, like every 3-6 months, you have to buy new clothes, you have to buy new shoes. They want to buy toys, you know, every week. Some kids come with their grandparents. So yeah, they come, they have 1,000 रुपए का budget. So you know, in Bacha Party you can get anything from 1,000 रुपए to 10,000 rupees. 1,000 रुपए का budget है. Every Sunday they come, खेला उसके साथ, एक हफ्ता उसको enjoy किया, तोड़-फोड़ के, come back, buy another toy for 1,000 rupees. So that's how the toy market has also changed. I don't know if you remember, हमारे ज़माने में we used to get one toy for 6 months, you know, and it was a toy that would last for 6 months, and we weren't allowed to get bored.
हाँ, अगर बाहर से आ गया तो ले आया तो ठीक है, वरना तो कोई उसी नहीं. अच्छा, what percentage of your like your sales and revenues are like toys, and what percentage is clothes?
So we've divided our business in 2 sides. So soft lines, which is like apparel and shoes, and hard lines, which is like accessories, toys, jewelry,
stationery
bags, all of that. So it's 50-50.
अच्छा, it's 50-50.
Yeah, it's 50-50. Although, like, you know, when you look at Bacha Party, the name, or you look at it from outside, it looks like a toy store. It looks like a place where, you know, it's a play area or something.
हाँ.
So it was a challenge initially because everyone came in thinking it was a play area or it was a toy store. To sell apparel, to sell shoes was a little difficult, and we had to market in a certain way to tell them that we are everything under one roof.
You also have a play area. You have play area as well now, right? In some locations.
So we don't, and we did in the start.
Okay.
We did in the start, but that backfired because we kept it for free.
Okay.
So you know the whole point was that mothers come and they would leave their kids and shop, but then people started misusing that. So we had to kind of
अच्छा,
like
बस
shut
आके
it
खेल के चले
up.
जाते
नहीं वो छोड़ के फिर वो grocery shopping and यहाँ
अच्छा,
वहाँ
okay,
and
fine.
you know, so that was that it was a big responsibility, right?
Yeah.
Taking care of kids is a big responsibility. So we were like, you know, this is not working. We'll relaunch this in another way. So what we're thinking now is to have kind of a soft play area within Bacha Party. और उसमें हम करेंगे ये कि आपने 5,000 या 2,500 या 3,000 की शॉपिंग कर ली तो आप फिर you know you can kind of not pay for it.
ठीक है.
You know, just to have a deterrence.
नहीं, that makes sense. अच्छा, मुझे एक और जिस पे समझना था वो ये था कि जो कपड़े आते हैं, like वो are they being made in Pakistan?
Yeah, so 95% are made in Pakistan now.
And the toys?
The toys are imported because
They're
we don't
mostly
have any other option. यहाँ पे कोई option ही नहीं है. यहाँ पे we don't have that kind of a facility to manufacture toys. But with clothes and shoes, हमारा एक इतना बड़ा export का setup है, so we use that setup to build, you know, our inventory locally.
Okay. And आपका उसमें okay, no, that makes sense because so Pakistan में there's no toy manufacturers in Pakistan.
So there are a few, but they're more expensive or they're very niche.
Okay.
They're very niche. They'll make something like they won't be mass production.
Is there a plan to do that integration?
So,
from Bacha Party side?
so right now we're in talks with some Chinese producers, but
Yeah.
the thing is, you know, given the situation of the country, you know, all of that, they're a little hesitant. So the idea was to have them set up an industry here because we're retailers.
हाँ, सही बात
We don't
है.
want to be manufacturers. We want to focus on service. And when we go into manufacturing, that's a different ballgame.
Yeah, and your track record can assure them that there'll be a pipeline of demand.
Yeah.
That's the
But,
biggest
but,
thing, right?
but it's really funny because it's actually not funny, but really interesting that when we show them the numbers, it's not enough. Our 11 or 12 stores are not enough
For them
to manufacture, because when you do a setup, when you do a mold of a toy, you have to make millions of toys.
Can't you do adjacent markets? Can't you be the front runner in doing adjacent markets like Bangladesh and other?
वो कह रहे हैं वहीं से भेज देंगे हम लोग.
नहीं, लेकिन यहाँ पे अभी मसले बहुत ज्यादा है ना. यहाँ पे बिजली का मसला, यहाँ पे बिजली का मसला, यहाँ पे inflation
Sustainability
का
of
मसला.
policies is what is getting people away from the manufacturing side.
Yeah.
Manufacturing is we
It's not
had an
just-
episode
it's not
on
just
manufacturing.
Yeah. It's like a lot of service industries, like a lot of IT services want to come to Pakistan, and I've mentioned to him as well, a lot of business families want to get into it. And जो बाहर से लोग हैं जो पार्टनर करना चाह रहे हैं वो सिर्फ ये कहते हैं कि ये कसम खा ले कि 10 साल तक पॉलिसी चेंज नहीं
No,
होगी
that's not,
क्योंकि हम
that
जिन
does not
मुल्कों में
happen.
बैठे हुए हैं वहाँ तो 20 साल से पॉलिसी चेंज नहीं हुई
सही है, कसम तो खा लेंगे लेकिन वो पूरी
यार
नहीं
ये
होगी.
बिजनेस फैमिलीज नहीं खाएंगे ना they'll be like भाई रेपुटेशन
Yeah, नहीं, of course. I completely
so the
understand.
problem is कि it's every industry right it's IT services it's everything.
हाँ, ये उसमें है. But like a natural extension to your business would be कि आप खुद से अपने बना private label करना शुरू कर दो.
So
right?
private label, we have clothes and shoes, and we have a lot of other stuff also. For example, we make our own strollers.
Oh, strollers
We
आप
make
बना
them
रहे हैं यहाँ पे?
China में बनाते हैं, लेकिन हमारे नाम के होते हैं. मतलब
Okay,
you know,
fine.
they're Bacha Party strollers, and a lot of other things. We started food actually. We started our own chips. We
Okay.
started our own chocolates.
I think I saw the banana
Yeah.
chips and all as well, right?
So the
Yeah.
chocolates are made by Lal's and
Okay.
you know, packaged by Lal's. Bacha Party, like, you know, we kind of test it and we approve it, and then we
Yeah, that's really
then
cool.
we so we're going there. You know, ये
And
boycott
that's
के
so
बाद.
good for the local economy as well.
Yeah,
There's another
exactly.
value chain that opened for Lal's.
Exactly, yeah.
So that was the point, right? So as soon as this import challenges started happening, ये boycott की opportunity आई because people are not having, you know, Lays and all these kind of things. We're coming up with our own water also. You know, Bacha Party की पानी की बोतल भी होगी. So, you know, we're extending, as you said, own label में. You know, as much as that's the plan.
अच्छा,
Because import में we can't rely on import anymore.
Exactly.
100%,
So उसमें पाकिस्तान के जो local businesses हैं, SMEs हैं, छोटे businesses हैं, उनके पास क्या avenues हैं where they can work with Bacha Party? कि यार retail हम संभाल लेंगे. So say if Mubariz today wants to मैं कोई चीज़ बनाऊँ और मैं बेचूँ, where would you say are the opportunities कि यार यहाँ पे ये market इसके लिए बहुत अच्छी है. अगर आप बनाते हो तो and they can work with you.
Yeah, so we have a whole commercial team, right? So the commercial team, basically decides कि कौन सा product, because we have limited shelf space, right? We can't keep everything. So every month we sit and we look at 10 new products, for example, and we'll choose 5. This is the time to induct them. उसमें से एक या दो successful होंगी, we'll continue that. They were local producers of dolls, so we encourage things like that. We started this program called Bachapreneur.
Okay.
So what we did was that we were like, we did a competition of kids entrepreneurs. So someone has made beads, someone has made scarves, someone has made some dolls. We'd invite them to our stores and we like sell for free. Okay. And whoever wins or whoever does the most sales will give you a shelf for free to give them as an opportunity to sell and make money and become future entrepreneurs.
नहीं सही बात है बिकॉज आई थिंक मैं जब बाहर के शोज वगैरह देख रहा होता हूँ वहाँ पे दिस ऑलवेज लेमिनेट स्टैंड कॉन्सेप्ट राइट कि बच्चे अपना लेमिनेट स्टैंड लगा के खड़े होते हैं बेचते हैं उससे कमाते हैं एंड दैट्स हाउ दे लर्न हाउ टू डू स्टफ. और पाकिस्तान में मुझे कोई ऐसी एज सच अपॉर्चुनिटी नहीं नजर आती. हालांकि आई डू फील के सेल्स इज प्रॉब्ली द बेस्ट थिंग एनी चाइल्ड कैन एनी चाइल्ड कैन लर्न एट एन अर्ली एज. बट सो तलाल ऑन योर फ्रंट so like you're catering to multiple audiences, multiple age groups. Legends Arena की revenue streams क्या क्या हैं? एक तो मैंने कोर्ट बुक कर लिया.
ठीक है.
उसके अलावा क्या है?
So there are a couple of things जो हमारे revenue streams में आती हैं. One is the court booking.
हाँ.
Second one is the academy programs.
हाँ. Tell me more about the academy.
So academy program is flourishing for a couple of reasons. तो basically जितने भी for example cricket या football academies already in the city or in the country हैं उसमें देखिए if a child needs to excel in sport one of the parents need to be the pushing force.
ठीक है.
वो पुशिंग फोर्स किस तरह आएगा कि पेरेंट की भी जिंदगी में कोई एक्साइटमेंट हो कि वो अपने 2 घंटे लगा रहा है. तो मैं जब शुरू में अपने आई हैव 3 kids, so I would take them individually to do some program they were enrolled in and you would just sit idle doing nothing on your phone.
ठीक है.
So Legends has changed that. So now the decision making from the kid has come to the parent. So the parent becomes the driving force. No, you have to go to Legends because my friends are also coming there. So you enjoy, I enjoy.
सही है.
तो वो बच्चों को छोड़ते हैं to the football class or the cricket class. They either hit the track, they hit the paddle court. Now that we're going to have the gym, they're going to hit the gym. So that's what has encouraged the academy to make a massive boom. कि parents interaction has increased and they are becoming the driving force instead of the kids.
क्योंकि डिसीजन मेकर तो आखिर में वही है ना.
बिल्कुल.
बच्चा तो नहीं डिसाइड करता कि मुझे कहाँ जाना है. इन सम केस आई थिंक करते भी होंगे. सो व्हाट आर द पेरेंट्स लाइक व्हाट डू दे वांट? लाइक आज का जो पेरेंट है अपने बच्चे के लिए जब वो डिसीजन ले रहा है, नाउ यू कैन आल्सो स्पीक एज अ पेरेंट एंड यू नाउ इंटरेक्ट विद सो मेनी पेरेंट्स थ्रू लेजेंड्स. व्हाट इज इट दैट यू थिंक दे आर लुकिंग फॉर देयर चाइल्ड?
They need off screen time.
अच्छा.
That's the priority.
Yeah, सही है.
सही है. Any kid who's less than a 10-year-old kid, my own kid, he's hooked onto Roblox.
सही है. Yeah.
So he's FaceTiming at the same time with his 6 friends and playing Roblox. Every month I get a demand that I want to buy Robux.
Yeah.
सही है. So that's an expense I'm incurring. So I've given him a budget of monthly thing कि वो महीने कितने हैं. बोले वो 1500 के Robux आ जाते हैं, वो 5 मिनट में चले जाते हैं. तो वो स्क्रीन टाइम एक है जिसको बेसिकली कटेल करना है. द किड्स ऑफ दिस जनरेशन आर आई मीन अ 4-year-old कैन रन एन iPad लाइक ही इज बीन डूइंग इट एवर सिंस ही इज बॉर्न. सो वो एक डिसएंगेजमेंट करवानी होती है पेरेंट्स को. ठीक है स्क्रीन टाइम अपनी जगह रहे मगर पूरा दिन ना चले. सो ऐसे भी पेरेंट्स हैं जिनने 3 दिन फुटबॉल में डाला हुआ है, 2 दिन क्रिकेट में डाला हुआ है और वीकेंड्स को पैडल की ट्रेनिंग भी करवा रहे हैं.
But this is also kind of like a substitute babysitter as well, right?
It is.
आपको भी टाइम मिल जाएगा कि आप स्क्रीन टाइम
you get your own alone time as well as a parent.
Yeah.
और फिर हमने एकेडमी के टाइमिंग इस तरह की है, if you have siblings along so they come at the same time since we have a space advantage.
Okay, yeah.
तो under 4 वाला उसी टाइम पर आएगा जो under 10 वाला भी आ रहा है उस टाइम पे.
समझ गया.
So you don't have to make those multiple trips of getting your kid into a space.
ठीक.
So that's an advantage because of the space of land, because we are spread over 40 canals of space.
Okay, so that's okay, fine.
Yeah,
that's very interesting.
yeah.
So you basically at the same time you're like यार एक ही पूरी फैमिली को cater कर लो उसी 2 घंटे
के. Now that the children's play area is being added on, which is also disengaging kids from the screen time at the same, cause it has no arcade arena.
Okay.
It is all soft play zone, jungle gym, inflatable zone, a trampoline area, and a toddler zone.
अच्छा, toddler zone separate है.
Toddler zone separate है. And then there are birthday party sections.
Okay. And that's another, obviously.
That's part of Legend, which is gonna be up and running in It's the same place.
बर्थडे पार्टी सेक्शन में क्या कर रहे होते हैं लोग आके? मतलब you can organize a whole birthday
Yeah,
party.
so birthday has played a big role. Since bookings are so much, we can't cater for birthdays on weekdays.
Okay.
So birthday can either happen on a Saturday or on a Sunday. So वो limitation है, मगर Sunday को एक ही दिन पे we are having 8 birthdays.
Okay, fine. ठीक है,
So
समझ गया.
ये अलग-अलग ग्राउंड आ गए और वो पेरेंट्स ने बोला यार इतना आसान हो गया, we just get kids in and it's done. Because birthday parties, you know, it's an expensive thing now. If you do it at home, you wanna hit your ceiling. इधर आ जाता है. If it's a toddler, we allow a jumping castle to be put in. There's a magic show going on. अगर किसी ने बर्थडे करनी है तो they hire a football coach. तो वो ऑर्गेनाइज करके मैचेस करवा लेता है.
अच्छा, but that's slightly older
Yeah,
kids.
and then you know funny part, we did pre-wedding events here.
Pre-wedding भी हो रही
Yeah,
है.
pre-wedding event इंस्टॉल लड़के और लड़की वालों के खानदान आए, 300 लोग आए, उनके मैचेस हुए हर ग्राउंड पे.
अच्छा,
There
like
were whole commentary going on. There was a host. They engaged a host there to do the public speaking. 6 घंटे के लिए पूरा अरीना बुक हुआ.
that's
Are
actually.
you advertising this? Like, you know, this because it's a great idea.
और अभी
Yeah,
तो wedding season भी आ रहा है.
हाँ बिल्कुल, वो प्री बुकिंग्स हो गई हैं. We've done over 250 corporate events in 1 year. So जिसके अंदर ये events भी included हैं, जिसके अंदर they've actually taken over the whole arena as a single booking. तो 6 बजे से रात को 12 बजे तक arena is booked for a single event.
Yes, so if I'm like to look into this business, अगर मैं इसको थोड़ा zoom out करके देखूं, it's essentially a real estate revenue maximization वाला scene, right? अब वो एक real estate है, आप तो उस पे एक plaza बना दो, या उस पे office बना दो, या उस पे resident बना दो, या ये, and I feel like this is probably resulting the highest yield.
So what we've taken the gap, what we saw in the market was कि देखिए पूरी दुनिया में ना sports या activity based sports is part of your lifestyle.
हाँ,
सही, पाकिस्तान के अंदर lifestyle is eating out.
yeah.
I mean the entertainment spot in the country is
खाना
which
खाना.
new restaurant has opened, कौन सी कॉफी शॉप खुल गई है या कौन सा चाय का ढाबा खुल गया है, उधर जाके ट्राई करना है, पसंद आ गया तो रोज बैठेंगे. ठीक है, अब वो एक गैप था इसके अंदर. और प्लस स्पोर्ट्स इंडस्ट्री एज अ हॉबी वाज ऑन अ डिक्लाइनिंग स्केल. फॉर एग्जांपल Ahmer is a member of Creek Club and I'm not. I want to play tennis with him. I cannot go.
Yeah.
Maybe I can go once एनी टाइम. अगर वहां पे कोई परमानेंट मेंबर खेल रहा होगा, कहेगा मैं प्रायोरिटी पे आ रहा हूँ, और अब मैं Ahmer के साथ खेलने के लिए 5 मिलियन नहीं खर्च करूंगा कि मैं मेंबरशिप ले लूं.
Yeah.
So the model which we have taken now is there is no membership.
ठीक है.
You pay as you play. You bring whoever you want to bring. You can get your own social circle खेलने के लिए. क्लब के अंदर ये है कि उस क्लब का ही सोशल सर्कल होना चाहिए, बाहर वाला नहीं आ सकता.
Yeah.
So I think down the line the club model is on a declining phase.
100%.
So you paying 5 million on or 10 million for a membership is nuts. Although you probably in the next 5, if you're playing Padel on a daily basis, you probably end up spending that money.
Yeah.
But that's a dose which you are getting in very short doses instead of doing it in a bulky way.
सही बात है.
So मेरे ख्याल से future of clubs is looking bleak because ever since we've opened Arena, Legends Arena, it's now slowly and starting to become an industry itself.
हाँ, it is. दुनिया में तो बहुत जगहों पे है ना recreational वाली वो space वगैरह.
Yeah, I have a question. Sorry.
Yeah, go.
कितने Legends Arena की space है पाकिस्तान की market में? Like अभी एक है ऐसे कितने spaces हैं available? मतलब market कितनी है?
देखिए स्पेस तो बहुत ज़्यादा है. प्रॉब्लम ये है कि somebody needs to have that passion. You know, this industry or this particular business cannot be run without being passionate about it. So either if you want to just do a replication of it, it won't run. You as an owner need to be very passionate about opening a facility similar to that. Now that a benchmark has been set, anything lesser than this will not work. So somebody who has to come in the same field of industry has to be at par or better.
So
सही
even
बात
with
है.
you,
Yeah.
I'm saying with Legends, how many Legends can open in Pakistan के market
हाँ.
and it'll still be profitable?
I think in Karachi itself, you have still a scope of close to 10.
Okay.
And if you go to other cities, and I would say second tier cities are the biggest revenue generators.
That's what I'm more interested in knowing as well. And how has the Bacha party experience been once you've gotten out of Karachi, Lahore, Islamabad?
So it's been excellent. Like it's been great. Our value system from Bacha Party is that we sell at a lower margin. So you've been, I'm
Yeah.
sure you guys have all been to Bacha Party. Our whole strategy is sell for less, same quality as competitors, and sell more quantity-wise.
ठीक है.
So that when you take that concept to masses, we have a store in Gujranwala, we have a store in Multan, we have a store in Hyderabad, we're in Lahore as well, opening next month in Islamabad. So yeah, the concept has clicked.
कंजम्पशन पैटर्न में कोई फर्क है KLI के अलावा जो टियर 2 सिटीज हैं
So tier 2 cities में basket की जो size है वो कम है,
अच्छा सही
but invoices ज़्यादा हैं. You'll be
okay,
able to
volume
convert them more.
ठीक है.
Because यहाँ पे options ज़्यादा है ना यहाँ पे.
What happens with tier 2 cities, what we have also, I mean, we've done doing studies to open into the tier 2 cities. Weekend के ऊपर ये सारे tier 2 cities के लोग ना, they come to these main cities to spend the weekend.
ठीक है.
Because there is no entertainment zone over there.
Yeah, I was born and raised in Hyderabad.
So
by the
one
way. I
of
used to
the
come to
restaurant
Karachi,
owners which I know, he has about 30 branches across Pakistan. The best functional branch according to him is Hyderabad.
Which restaurant is this?
This is Greeno.
Greeno. Yeah,
सही
okay,
है.
fine, yeah.
तो वो मुझे उस दिन बता रहा था कि हैदराबाद के अंदर वॉल्यूम इतना ज़्यादा है. अब प्रॉब्लम उससे ये पता चलता है कि टियर 2 सिटी में हिडन वेल्थ है, पीपल स्पेंडिंग पावर बहुत है,
बिल्कुल.
मगर किस चीज़ पे स्पेंड करें?
हाँ.
देयर इज नथिंग देयर. सो उसी फैक्टर के ऊपर जो जैसे पंजाब हो गया, फैसलाबाद है, फैसलाबाद के अंदर भी सारा ट्रैफिक वीकेंड को या तो इस्लामाबाद चला जाएगा या लाहौर चला जाएगा.
Fair enough.
अब फैसलाबाद में भी अगर कोई एंटरटेनमेंट स्पॉट खुल जाए, आई एम श्योर पीपल विल save that time to drive 3 hours to any city nearby.
I don't recall whether it was JJ or Khadi, so I don't remember that, but I remember one of these two gentlemen telling me that the Swat outlet was their largest and best performing outlet. Because instead of commuting far, और फिर वो थोड़ी culturally भी थोड़ा वो conservative है, they like लाखों करोड़ों की sale है daily from women. Swat.
I went to Aptabad once. कराची में ग्लोरिया जीन्स बंद हो गया था, एबटाबाद में खुला हुआ था.
साइज इसका देखा था?
It's massive और it is running और green ग्लोरिया जीन्स is not cheap.
Yeah, it's not cheap. Yeah.
It's heavy on the
पंजाब की
pocket.
टियर 2 सिटीज में ग्लोरिया जीन बहुत बड़े बने हुए हैं.
Yeah.
बहुत बड़े बड़े खूबसूरत आउटलेट बने हुए हैं.
Yeah, and I feel like they would struggle more in Karachi because you have so many other options.
Dude, Second Cup never came here because it couldn't find a market.
I think they came.
See,
Phase
I think
two
बंद हो
में
गया
आया
था.
था. Phase two में आया था.
बंद हो
It
गया
became
था.
a spot where people would have one coffee and sit all day to use their
And
laptops.
if you look
But that's
at the
all coffee shops'
size
problem.
and scale of Second Cup in Punjab and Federal, it's insane.
You know, it's vice versa. Any restaurant which has done well in Karachi is struggling in Punjab, and similarly, the Punjab restaurant is struggling in Karachi. A premium example is probably Delitzia as well. I think Delitzia tried to open in Lahore, did not work. They changed the name to Layers.
और वहाँ पे
It's gone nuts.
अच्छा,
So,
it's the same people.
so this is really interesting point because ये Lahore, when we opened our first store in Lahore, Emporium Mall, okay, I was at the cash counter, and the customer said something, and I replied politely, and he was like, "Wait a minute, don't give me Karachi वालों का response, ये Lahore है, ये Karachi नहीं है, यहाँ पे ये चीज़ नहीं चलेगी." Or something like that, So basically they have a very big, एक mindset है कि भाई लाहौर को support करना है, या हम लाहौरी हैं, आप कराची वाले हो. There is
Really?
there
अच्छा.
is
I felt that my entire life.
Yeah.
There's a cultural difference in
So-
how
so-
you tackle the
Yeah.
client over there.
So they would support, Lahore brands more.
Okay.
I don't see that in Karachi. If a Lahori brand
हाँ,
comes,
मुझे
they
तो
don't really.
पता भी नहीं
I
चलता.
like the fact that you've put it positively, and I think that's the way you should phrase it.
Yeah.
But I think intrinsically, somewhere down there, there's also a lot of implicit bias towards a Karachi.
Yeah.
I mean, towards meaning in a negative way. Like if you're a Karachi employee in a company or a Karachi restaurant or whatever, there is that sort of, ye Karachi ke burger, whatever it is. And I felt that because, I had offices in Lahore my entire life, and I felt that. And I think that's a part of the cultural bias that we talk about. I mean, even America mein, East Coast, West Coast, Texas versus...
But I think being in a
metropolitans.
multicultural city like Karachi, we can adjust better
Very well,
in a place like
Yeah.
Lahore or Islamabad instead of them coming here, because it's a very different ball game in Punjab, and because I have my other business running around the whole country, the whole nature of doing business is very different, very different, very different. You can't. I mean, thinking of giving credit in Punjab is taking a big risk.
Really?
I mean, you can
Okay.
give credit in Karachi.
पर वो तो सिर्फ जान पहचान से क्रेडिट होता है ना, like in the sense if you know them and
देखिए होता क्या है कि you need to give a little mileage, because since you are in a competitive market, you can't be too rigid with your payment terms.
okay.
So there's always a margin which you let go, and then that recovery part is a task itself. Although you end up doing that, but it's a struggle.
Okay, wow. But I guess I think वहाँ पे ये आपका होता है कि आपके वहाँ पे इनरोड्स कितने ज़्यादा हैं. एंड आई फील लाइक पाकिस्तान में जो मैंने जो नोट किया है, it's a shame-based market or enforcement mechanism as opposed to guilt-based enforcement.
I don't want to point. I mean, the last thing I want to do is do a Karachi versus Lahore podcast. But having run businesses in all three cities and Peshawar as well, I think one of the biggest problems Punjab has with people from Karachi is they don't appreciate our overly direct nature to business, in the sense that when we sit down with them, if they've given us time for a meeting, we want to talk about business the first thing we do and have a cup of tea and food later. They genuinely take offense to that because it seems very impersonal to them.
Yeah.
No, it's a very different culture.
Yeah,
You know, I went to Islamabad the other day, कुछ time पहले, और वो एक there was a meeting going on and वो हो ही नहीं रही किसी तरीके से ना, तो बैठे हुए वेट कर रहे हैं. So I had this competitor sitting with me, डॉक्टर साहब, उनका नाम है डॉक्टर नदीम. कहते क्या कर रहे हो? मैंने कहा मेरा दिन नहीं गुजर रहा. कहते क्या मतलब? मैंने कहा 4 बज गए, मैं सुबह 9 बजे से आया हुआ हूँ, not one task has been complete. कहते this is Islamabad, if you do one task in one day na, that's an achievement. मैंने कहा my day feels incomplete if I don't do 4-5 things in a day and then go back home.
Yeah. But
So that's how fast this city is, because you know, for me, anytime I move outside Karachi to do work, it's as if the clock has stopped. The day just does not go by.
Once I went to US Apparel in a past life. Great people. I would suggest everybody to visit that factory once in their life. And super sweet guy, CIO, beautiful office. And he made me sit down and he said, Imran साहब, आप पहले बताएं चाय लेंगे, ठंडा लेंगे, पानी लेंगे, ग्रीन टी लेंगे. मैंने कहा सर पहले आपने मुझे टाइम दिया है, टाइम बख्शा है, पहले इस पे बात कर लेते हैं, फिर क्या लेंगे. And he was very clear. He said, यही बात मुझे आप कराची वालों की बिल्कुल नहीं पसंद. आप दोस्तियाँ नहीं बनाते. फौरन आए, धंधे की बात, पैसों की बात, हो जाएगा धंधा. नहीं, अब तो मैं पहले आपको खाना खिलाऊंगा. Then he took me to the US Apparel की pantry, and beautiful pantry had made me have food. अब खाने के बाद मैं खुद नशे में दूध, because you know they feed you, and he's like, अब सर बात करते हैं सर. And then he closed it in like 4 minutes, and he's like, सर काम हो जाएगा यार, ताल्लुकात बनाए. I'm like, okay, sure.
We've not built up that way.
Yeah, something to learn. Something
This
to
is-
learn. Like
It's
that
a
was
lot of
very
patience
It's a
game
positive
there.
thing.
Yeah, exactly.
But one thing about Lahore is they love to spend. So that's something.
exactly.
Something good for.
So there's a competition within themselves. Say, you know, if you spend $1,000 and you go and show that off, you've
You
done.
know who said this to me? The guy from MG Cars. So MG did like significantly well in Lahore, right? All of them did actually.
I think all cars do well. I mean, the good
नहीं,
cars you
जितना भी
find
नया-
in Lahore.
नहीं, जितनी भी नया लॉट है ना, they've all done well in Punjab. जैसे DFS का तो यहाँ बंद हो गई, वहाँ भी बिक रही है, ठीक है? And he said the first thing we did was sell the car, targetedly sell the car to the top people in communities, like जो भी business communities हैं वहाँ पर, पंजाबी communities. जैसे यहाँ पर अगर आप जाएंगे तो आप मेमनों को बेचेंगे, दिल्ली वालों को, like that. I don't understand the vernacular. And
वो
he
खरीदेंगे
said,
नहीं.
हाँ?
वो खरीदेंगे नहीं.
And he said हुआ ये कि इतना सक्सेसफुल हुआ कि जब बरादरी में एक बंदे ने लिया ना, तो अगले बंदे ने कहा यार इसके पास कैसे आ गई, मुझे अभी चाहिए. हमने कहा सर अभी नहीं मिल सकती, लॉट नहीं है. नहीं, डबल पैसे ले लो, मुझे ये चाहिए. देन everybody who he sat with at the gymkhana, they ended up coming and saying मुझे भी दे दो. He's like यार वहाँ competition इतना है कि how can that dude.
और यहाँ पे ना Maiman would say, यार, I would put that money in my business.
100%.
Easy stupid to spend 10 million rupee. I would enhance my factory with that.
अच्छा, I have 100% noticed this. लोग उल्ट यहाँ पे रिवर्स जजमेंट होती है कि यार पागल आदमी है, 5 करोड़ रुपए की गाड़ी खरीद रहा है. Like, you know, क्यों कर रहा है?
जब Civic 1 करोड़ की भी थी,
Yeah.
so many of my business, I have a lot of Maiman friends, right? They were like इस कचरे पे को करोड़ रुपए क्यों खर्च करें, इससे अच्छा मैं ये ना कर लूं. And उधर Civic बिकती रही पंजाब में, like nobody cared कि करोड़
You
रुपए
find
की थी.
Audis as you find Corollas over here.
But I think वहाँ पे
That-
सड़कें भी बेहतर हैं यार.
ये
Like
बात भी
honestly
है.
उनकी सड़कें बेहतर
The
हैं.
only good
और
thing about going to Islamabad is you love driving there.
you love driving there.
No.
The other thing is intercity travel is a lot more. यहाँ पे आप कराची से बाहर नहीं निकलते.
Done. Yeah, you're done on Karachi.
Exactly. कराची में भी आप ब्रिज को नहीं क्रॉस करते ना, आप ऐसी एक ही
अब तो ब्रिज क्रॉस करके बेहतर हाल है.
100%. आपका जो दूसरा आउटलेट है, that area is much better.
Yeah.
But so you think so whenever I've spoken to consumption oriented businesses, आपके जितने भी ये clothing हो गए, ये apparel हो गया, cosmetics वगैरह हो गए, they've all reported a higher sales figures in Punjab. They're like यार वो market है हमारी सही से. You mentioned Reno earlier. I spoke to the founders. They're like यार पंजाब में बहुत खर्च करते हैं. आपकी consumption like पूरा pattern ही वहाँ पे different है. But have you noticed that in toys? Or in your general वो like which city is your best performing city or
पंजाब
which
में
branch?
Punjab mein one more thing is disparities between cities is very limited.
हाँ गुजरात से
Gujranwala,
क्या
Multan, Faisalabad, they are all on same levels.
2-2 घंटे दूर है ना, तो
दूर
लाहौर
भी
में
है,
आपको
in
छोड़ो के
terms
आ
of their
जाएंगे.
infrastructure, it's, I mean, Sindh, I mean, I don't know if you've been to Hyderabad recently.
Yes, sir.
At one point, it was developing into a very great city.
अब तो नहीं.
It's not that anymore. I mean, Karachi deteriorate कर रहा है, तो Sindh is basically practically it's made out of one city in terms of development.
Yeah.
वो भी reduce हुई जा रही है. Punjab is growing as every city is on the same pattern of Lahore. Not
Yeah.
there as yet, but the master plan is there for all
आपने
these cities.
केपीके देख लें.
I have not
KPK
been
के
to
शहरों पे I love KPK. He always hears me say I love KPK as a market. I loved it back in my past life. I loved it in gaming because they're a passionate city. पढ़े लिखे and they are deeply loyal to their city and their province. आप उनके शहर देखें जो डिस्ट्रस्ट, आप पेशावर देखें अभी जाके, रात को पेशावर में घूमें, फ्लाईओवर देखें, ब्रिज देखें, रोडे देखें, रेस्टोरेंट देखें,
Actually,
कैफे
KP
देखें.
market नहीं हो सका ना. They did not market it like Punjab government markets their cities. KP government doesn't do that. I mean, I've heard similar stories from people who live there. But public media eyes में नहीं आता कि KPK में development हुई है. Punjab runs those ads. There are these conferences telecast हो रही हैं. वो CM is going on a tour. You're going to be recorded. KP didn't do it. Not in the last 5 years. I haven't seen any sort of a gig going on for KP.
Yeah, नहीं, that's true. I think I saw it when PTI government जब थी उस टाइम पे थोड़ा KP पे भी वो हुआ था. But उसके अलावा जो I think the motorway project was transformational for Punjab, right? Of course.
100%.
अब अगर आपका लाहौर में आउटलेट है तो like you said, someone from Gujarat, गुजरावाला, फैसलाबाद के कम 2 घंटे की ड्राइव है यार, और अच्छी ड्राइव है, वैसी बुरी नहीं है, और साथ में amenities भी हैं.
They're very good.
हाँ, it's perfect. So वो जब लाहौर आएगा, they're going to try new experiences in Lahore, right? They are going to go for those different वाले वो चीज़. So Imran, coming to you, like in terms of gaming and uptake, where do Arsalan, Ash, etc. जितने भी Tekken players हैं, which cities are they from? They're all tier 2 cities, right?
So लाहौर भी कराची की तरह ना, लाहौर भी बहुत बड़ा शहर है.
Yeah.
सही है. And you have pockets in Lahore that represent migrants from tier 2 cities, right? So वो जो शादरा वाली पट्टी है या गुजू माता वाली पट्टी है, ये basically छोटे शहरों, छोटे तो नहीं, tier 2 शहरों से लाहौर में पुरानी आई हुई communities हैं, right? So they represent that real अंदरून, जिस तरह हम कराची में बोलेंगे अंदरून कराची, जहाँ पुरानी हिंदू कम्युनिटीज़ और क्रिश्चियन कम्युनिटीज़ रह रही हैं. सो ये वहाँ के हैं. नॉट लिटरली मैं अरसलान की उसकी बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं जनरल स्टेटमेंट दे रहा हूँ कि दीज आर मोस्टली फ्रॉम इंटीरियर लाहौर, एंड देन सम आर फ्रॉम भावलपुर, सम आर फ्रॉम मुल्तान, सम आर फ्रॉम फैसलाबाद, गुजरावाला, बट मोस्टली फ्रॉम लाहौर एंड मुल्तान and Faisalabad for now. And these are deeply ethnically Punjabi professionals. In the sense, I'll call them professionals. They are professionals now. Like I said, a lot of these guys learned Urdu a lot later in life. English to dur ki baat hai, right? Like there are a few players today, I wouldn't like to name them because they might not appreciate it. But professional players abhi bhi, कि जो बंदा साथ रखते हैं जो उनसे पंजाबी में सवाल पूछता है, even if you are asking them questions in Urdu. Like आप बिल्कुल वलेला उर्दू में भी पूछ रहे हैं ना, तो he'll smile and the guy next to him will be like ठेठ Punjabi, that, and I'm Punjabi, couldn't understand a word of it, right? And they translate and then they'd be smiling and very comfortably, replying. And then there are people like Arsalan and all who've taken classes and fluent English and are translators to their teams abroad and stuff like that. So that's how it's Androon Lahore and then Multan, Gujranwala, Faisalabad, the bigger tier 2 cities, let me put it this way. Tier 3 से है representation, but अभी वहाँ तक पहुँची नहीं है representation tier 3 में अभी इस level पे. But yeah, if you again doing Punjab versus Sindh, no
मगर
comparison.
देखिए, I think even if you take eSports or any sort of sports, you will always get talent from these tier 3, tier
You'll
2.
find
Yeah,
it
yeah,
anywhere.
100%.
यार.
Because that's, percentile ही सबसे ज़्यादा वहीं है.
हाँ, but I think अब तो urban और आपका rural split भी अब कोई तकरीबन आधा ही हो.
देखिए इसमें ना
Like from what I understand.
opportunities का बहुत बड़ा role है.
Yeah.
So for example, when we did the first, so Tekken 8 just came out in January, February actually, globally. So we wanted to crown the first Tekken 8 champion in Pakistan being a Tekken country. So we did the first Tekken 8 female tournament in Lahore at the Royal Palm. तो बहुत बज़ हो गई कि तो Tekken 8 का पहला टूर्नामेंट 10-12 लाख रुपए प्राइज मनी का, उसके बाद औरतें खाली. And we had women, girls drive in from Chakwal and Faisalabad and every place to be at the arena at 1 o'clock in the afternoon. And then you found out they'd been playing. Some people came with their husbands, so they were married, but they were still playing.
They're the gamers.
Yeah.
What's the ratio in terms of female gamers?
नहीं, ये तो था ही सिर्फ फीमेल के लिए.
Best overall female
25%.
25%.
It's had a flat 25%.
female. But you're how did you get this data? Like from where? Does it include the casual, hyper casual gaming?
No. So we don't talk about mobile. वो एक बिल्कुल अलग दुनिया है, data driven.
वहाँ पे अगर
उधर तो बहुत बड़ा है. Casual में औरतें बहुत ज़्यादा है.
Yeah.
So if you look at the Unity, so a good place would be to look at the Unity report. It's for free on LinkedIn. Unity is the largest platform on mobile. उसमें तो औरतें बहुत ज़्यादा है. आप hyper casual पे जाएंगे तो कि उसमें तो फिर आपकी 60 साल की सास भी खेल रही है ना, लाइक वो एक अलग लेवल है उसका. एंड उसकी टारगेटिंग एंड डेटा साइंस इज लाइक शेफ्स किस. वो एक अलग लेवल की गेम है मोबाइल पे. बट जनरली ऑन व्हेन टॉकिंग अबाउट द 43 million at least 25%. So these girls had come with their husbands, their brothers, their fathers, their mothers, and they were cheering them on, and they had been playing professionally in their own towns. Like वो जो लड़की हमारा टूर्नामेंट जीती थी, अमरीन फ्रॉम चकवाल, she had been winning college and university tournaments in her own city for the last 3-4 years, right?
And this was Tekken,
right? So मैं बात ही कर रहा था कि opportunity जो है ना in tier 3 cities में, क्योंकि या tier 2 cities में कम होती है, when you do something it gains traction so much faster that आप imagine नहीं कर सकते. जब Red Bull के साथ PUBG और Free Fire कैंपस क्लच का कॉन्सेप्ट शुरू किया आज से 4-5 साल पहले, कैंपस क्लच बेसिकली क्या था? PUBG मोबाइल और Free Fire मोबाइल को मुल्क भर में छोटे शहरों में स्कूलों में लेके जाना. That's what was called कैंपस क्लच. वैन खड़ी करते थे, ऑडिटोरियम में 15-20 मोबाइल फोन रखते थे, टूर्नामेंट होता वहीं पर 5-10 रुपए दिए, रेड बुल का गिफ्ट हैम्पर दिया, whatever, right? The reason that made these two brands. Why? Because overnight everybody stuck to it like flypaper. Literally कि यार छोटे शहरों में रेड बुल की बस आई है, फ्री फायर की बस आई है. आप अपने शहर में ना ये चीजें for granted लेते हैं. There's no shock and awe to you. Oh, whatever. But when you go to these cities, they get so impressed and so motivated by it that the way they take to these things, आप imagine ही नहीं कर सकते. So that is why all of these these gaming brands have been built up from tier 3, tier 2 cities and made their way up the funnel into tier 1, barring a few rare use cases, right? And that's what our focus is as well. हम tier 1 पे तो करते हैं, लेकिन हम tier 2 पे भी focus कर रहे हैं, हम tier 3 पे भी focus कर रहे हैं. Because once you crack that market ना, आपके पास शायद resources कम होंगी और demand ज़्यादा होगा. So मैं बता रहा हूँ, अगर आप if you become the Bacha party of gaming zones or the legends arena of gaming zones, देखिए gaming zones just like everything in Pakistan ना, ये पूरी industry इंतहाई fragmented और fractured है. eSports भी gaming zone भी बस real estate की तरह यहाँ लाइटें लगा लो और PC लगा लो, नहीं. Do it the way they're doing it. Do it the way, and you do this, that's the next gold mine, my friend. 24 घंटे में ना इसी तरह ऐप पे बुकिंग रखें, 24 घंटे एक पीसी खाली नहीं मिलेगा.
Actually, the problem why people struggle doing businesses specifically in Pakistan is everybody is passionate about. Nobody wants to do a job.
Yeah.
Under sub, everybody wants to do their own business. But when you set a mindset of doing a business just to make money, it never happens. It never happens. When you have a vision to make a legacy that this is how it should be, then money flow follows. So it needs to be that way around.
That's interesting because I've always believed किसी भी उसमें, like I'm a service provider as a lawyer, etc. But I've completely believed that money is a byproduct.
True.
जो भी करोगे, all you have to do is create value.
It can't be a deterrent to start a business.
Yep.
It can't be the first motivating factor to start a business as well. So this is, as you said, it's a byproduct because once you hit your vision correctly, it's going to follow.
इन्होंने एक बात की थी थोड़ी देर पहले, and he wasn't talking about gaming in general, but he mentioned many times that it's a space for people to be away from screen time. And I'd like to touch on that, right?
Yeah, actually I wanted to ask you about that as well, because you're all about screen time.
No, not really. So let me explain, and I thank you for saying that because it gives you an opportunity to clarify. And I've done these talks at Cedar School and a couple of other places where I've taken parents to task on the concept of screen time. देखिए, so this is one of the biggest deterrents also during the early 2000s where the industry didn't take off. This stigma around gaming, right? GTA खेलेगा तो असल में किसी को गोली मार देगा. पाकिस्तान में ऐसा कोई एक occurrence भी नहीं है, सही है? By the way, US में भी नहीं है, ठीक है? People conflate the two, gun violence with game violence.
2006, another thing to add is it's also about, it's just कि screen time problem चलें हो सकता है one of the problems. The other problem was what culture had came into these gaming zones.
Yeah. No, but
They became a spot to host fights.
बाहर आ जाओ उसके
So किसी ने लीड नहीं ली उस इंडस्ट्री को चलाने
यही
के
तो मैं कह
लिए.
रहा हूँ फ्रैगमेंटेड. लेकिन मैं सिर्फ गेमिंग जोन की बात नहीं कर रहा, मैं भी फिर गेमिंग की स्टिग्मा की बात कर रहा हूँ कि घर पे भी बच्चा खेल रहा है तो आपको जहर लग रहा है. क्यों भाई? सो and I'm going to start with an anecdote. हमने सीडर में कुछ वर्कशॉप्स किए because a friend of mine used to run Cedar here and she said यार a lot of our kids come to us and say यार हम पढ़ते भी हैं, A grade स्टूडेंट भी हैं, फुटबॉल भी खेलते हैं, ये भी खेलते हैं, घर वाले यार जब हमें देखते हैं गेम खेलते हुए गालियां पड़ जाती है कि ये अपनी ज़िंदगी ज़ाया करो चरसी मवाली. So she said our kids want you to have we have an open house, we have it every year, come and talk to the parents. So they signed up about 25-30 parents and I went there and I don't remember the entire conversation but the parents started saying हमारे बच्चे गेम खेलते हैं, कहते हैं. मैंने कहा अच्छा मैं आपसे एक सवाल पूछ सकता हूँ. And there were a lot of women, obviously there were all mothers there, right, except for one father. And I said के what do you like to do, when does your day end? So most of the women said 6 o'clock. And it's not because काम ज़्यादा होता है, because we're housewives, we pace ourselves in a way कि we get done by the time the husband comes home. तो अब चाय बना के चिल मारेंगे और बच्चों के साथ बैठ गए और फिर मैंने कहा अच्छा what do you like to do? सही है. उसने कहा कि थोड़ा देर साथ बैठ के
टीवी
मुंह से निकल गया मैं यूट्यूब पे जाके हम टीवी के ड्रामे और मैंने वही पकड़ लिया. मैंने कहा 1 मिनट आप रुक जाए जी. मैंने कहा आप क्या करती हैं? उन्होंने कहा सो आई लाइक टू वॉच दीज रियलिटी शोज एनी काइंड ऑफ कुकिंग के हो गए, ट्रैवल के हो गए. मैंने कहा अच्छा कितना देख लेती हैं आप? कह रही है 9:30-10 बजे तक बिकॉज देन आई लाइक टू अनवाइंड एंड हैव अ कप ऑफ टी, रीड अ बुक एंड देन गो टू स्लीप. तो मैंने कहा 3-3.5 घंटा तो देख लेती है ना दिन में. कह रही हाँ. मैं कहा दोपहर को देखती हैं? कह रही समटाइम्स व्हेन आई एम कुकिंग एंड आई एम वेटिंग फॉर द फूड टू बी लाइक यू नो बिटवीन कुकिंग स्टेजेस तो लाउंज में बैठ के आधा घंटा 40 मिनट देख लिया नेटफ्लिक्स एंड अदर. मैंने कहा किस टाइप के ड्रामे देखती हैं? नाउ दिस इज वेरी कंटेंशियस टॉपिक ना. और बिफोर शी कुड आंसर मैंने कहा वही देखती होंगी आजकल हर आदमी की 2 शादियां हो रही हैं, यही वाले ड्रामे होते होंगे, यही होता होगा, वो हो गई सास ने ये कर दिया, आग लगा दी. तो हंसने लगी ना, सारे हंसने लगे. दे लाइक यही टीवी पे आ रहा है. मैंने कहा कभी आपने अपने बच्चे से पूछा कि जो आप देख रहे हैं, एंड बच्चे सारे A लेवल्स के हैं ना, क्या वो इसको कचरा नहीं कंसिडर करते? कहते हैं हमारे बच्चे भी कंसिडर करते कचरा, हमारे शौहर भी कहते हैं क्या कचरा देख रहे हो तुम लोग. So मैंने कहा 3 people in the house feel what you're watching is absolute garbage. You're doing the exact same to your kid at this point. You walk into their room, ट्यूशन पढ़ के आ चुके हैं, होमवर्क वो अपना कर चुके हैं, नीचे क्रिकेट भी खेल के आ चुके हैं. आपको क्या मौत आई हुई कुछ भी करे वो बैठ के? मतलब why is your perception of what they're doing garbage when you're actually consuming garbage? I said what you're consuming is worse. Because that you are doing passive entertainment. वो कर रहा है active entertainment, right? So एक तो ये पहली चीज़ है. यही माइंडसेट था जो कि अब रूरल, सेमी अर्बन, पेरी अर्बन पंजाब में चेंज होता शुरू हुआ जब लोगों ने पैसा. देखिए इकोनॉमिक इज द ग्रेटेस्ट चेंज मेकर. देखिए आपकी रिलीजियस बायसेस भी इकोनॉमिक्स यूँ ख़त्म करती है, एथनिक बायसेस भी यूँ ख़त्म हो जाती है, सारा कुछ ख़त्म हो जाता है जब इकोनॉमिक्स. जब इन बच्चों ने 70-80 लाख तो अभी कमा रहे हैं ना, स्टार्ट तो 50-60 हज़ार से किया था ना. जब इन्होंने कमाना शुरू किया, अच्छा वो भी इतना कमा रहा है, तुम भी तो खेलते हो, तुम क्यों नहीं इस पर करते? खान अपने मुंह से मुझे बताता है कि मैं जब पहले टेकन खेलता था तो मेरे माँ बाप मुझे रात को जब मैं आता था ना तो चप्पल फेंक के बोलते थे कि 11-12 बजे रात का आ रहे हो गेमिंग जोन से, ये कोई टाइम है आने का? जबकि मैं बोलता था कि मतलब गेमिंग जोन से आ रहा हूँ, व्हाट्स द बिग डील, मैं यहाँ बैठूँ, मैं चाय वाले पे बैठूँ, क्या फ़र्क पड़ता है? कहते हैं आज मेरी माँ को पता है मैंने 7 बजे नाश्ता करके ना बूट कैंप पे 8:30 बजे पहुँचना है. माशाल्लाह इन सब के अपने बूट कैंप से बने हुए. कहते हैं मेरी माँ सुबह उठाती है, कहती है नाश्ता पड़ा हुआ है, गीजर ऑन है, नहाओ. तुमने 8:30 क्यों 50-60 लाख रुपए कमा रहे हैं भाई
महीने के.
That was what was missing in 2000.
Exactly right. So no, but also the narrative. A lot of great people. मैं तो इस गेम में बहुत देर से घुसा. A lot of great people spent a lot of time advocating screen time जो है ना जिसके खिलाफ मैं भी हूँ आज, वो है पैसिव स्क्रीन टाइम. कि चबलों की तरह बच्चे बैठ के टिकटॉक और क्या कहते हैं उसे डूम स्क्रोलिंग. सही है इंस्टा. एंड एडल्ट्स आर गिल्टी ऑफ इट एज वेल. आपके दोस्त से आप बात करेंगे, दोस्त फोन पे like, भाई मेरी सुन ले यार, ठीक है. ये पैसिव.
I am a victim of that.
जी ये me and my wife have a fight about this all the time. कि मेरी सुन लो. ये I am vehemently against this and I would run a campaign against this if I could कि इस एज से छोटे बच्चे को तो हाथ में बेचना ही क्राइम होना चाहिए, right? That is dangerous. That causes ADHD and different things. जो गेमिंग है ना यार, वो एक्टिव एंटरटेनमेंट है. इट रिक्वायर्स मोटर स्किल्स, इट रिक्वायर्स थिंकिंग, स्ट्रैटेजाइजिंग इन द राइट अमाउंट. अब ऐसा तो नहीं है कोरिया की तरह, जिस तरह खबरें आप सुनते हैं, बंदा 2 दिन तक घर से गायब रहा, तीसरे दिन पे 100 मिला गेमिंग जोन पे. वो तो एक्सट्रीम है, राइट? बट माई पॉइंट इज दैट नाउ यू हैव पेरेंट्स हु वोकन अप टू द. एंड देखिए, मैं आपको एक बात बता दूं, ये ना हमारा बाय डिफॉल्ट एक गलती है ना. यू माइट डिसएग्री बिकॉज यू आर पैशनेट अबाउट स्पोर्ट्स एंड यू आल्सो प्ले टेनिस. This is a fallacy that parents in Pakistan believe every kid can play sports. Nahi, boss. Nahi, boss. It is genetics. There is a predisposition to athletic prowess, whether it's gully cricket or whether it's professional cricket or football. देखिए, जैसे हर बंदा बास्केटबॉल नहीं खेल सकता ना, मैं 5 फुट 6 पे नहीं खेल सकता ना. Let's be real about this. ठीक है? There is a genetic disposition to sports. So a lot of parents make their kids feel guilty about not participating in sports when it simply doesn't excite them. But that kid is fantastic at PUBG. He is earning lakhon rupees, hazaron rupees. He is great at FIFA. He's got great friends online. He has a great personality online. लोगों की ऑनलाइन पर्सनैलिटीज हैं यार. वो यूरोप में खेल रहे हैं, स्वीडन में खेल रहे हैं मेरे बच्चे. वी नीड टू अंडरस्टैंड ई स्पोर्ट्स इज स्पोर्ट्स. इट इज नॉट एथलेटिक्स, बट इट इज लेजिटिमेटली स्पोर्ट्स. अगर आप स्पोर्ट्स की डेफिनेशन उठाएं, कोई फर्क नहीं है. कम्युनिटी, पार्टिसिपेशन, टीम वर्क, कॉम्पिटिटिव, विनिंग, लूजिंग, रिवॉर्ड मैकेनिज्म, सब सेम है. एथलेटिक्स नहीं है. Nobody ever said it was athletics. So let people play, learn, grow that industry. And मेरे बच्चे के पास हर console है, because obviously their dad, हर PC है. Both my kids play football 2-3 hours a day अपने शौक से. मैं नहीं कहता जाओ फुटसल खेलो. They play whatever they want to, basketball, everything. They have a healthy lifestyle, but they love gaming. And I'm sure they're going to go into gaming on their own as well, right? But yeah, so this was also a big stigma, which thankfully now, because of these people who've made great impact both on the mindset and economically, now people are like, yeah, cool. You know, the kids can make
मतलब
it
जो भी स्किल एक्वायर कर रहा है, that
मुझे
can
पता
be
हाउ यू
monetized.
गेटिंग दिस आउट. लाइक दिस इज अ रियली इंटरेस्टिंग नैरेटिव. मेरा जो नैरेटिव था ना, वो आज अभी चेंज हो गया आपको सुन के. बिकॉज बचपन से ग्रोइंग अप, इट वाज लाइक गेमिंग, यू नो, यू आर बेकार मवाली. लाइक, यू नो, इफ यू आर गेमिंग, इफ यू आर प्लेइंग स्पोर्ट्स, oh amazing. My dad was also the youngest national champion of table tennis. He was 14 when he's the national
those are
champion.
big shoes to follow.
So yeah, so and we weren't allowed PlayStation, we weren't allowed Nintendo. एक होता था महीने में, रमजान के महीने में, when we were fasting, we were allowed to play video games. तो ये narrative change हुआ है मेरा. तो आप क्या कर रहे हैं
All
इसको,
kids are
इस
gonna
narrative
thank
को और
Imran. All kids are going to thank Imran.
देखिए, सबसे पहले तो मैं यहाँ पर शुक्र अदा करना चाहूँगा अपने वालिद साहब का. He is a mentor and a guiding light to me for many things in my life. Resilience, perseverance, getting over hardship and whatever. And also this. So we were always a self-made family. मेरा बाप को इंडस्ट्रियलिस्ट नहीं था, उसके पहले वो भी नौकरी करते थे. He was an interior designer. And from the age of 3, my first Atari was bought by my dad. सदर में उस ज़माने में मिलता था, इलेक्ट्रॉनिक मार्केट में. वो रात भर वो काम करके बेचारे जाते थे, लाइन में खड़ो के लेके आते थे. जब निंटेंडो आया, फिर गेम बॉय आया, फिर मेरा पहला सेगा सैटर्न, फिर प्ले स्टेशन, ऑल ऑफ दिस स्टफ. पहला पीसी इलेक्ट्रो ट्रेडर्स होता था, एसपी पटाकिया, वहाँ से जाके एसर का पीसी लेके आए. ऑल माई डैड, राइट? एंड ही सेड, आई विल नेवर स्टॉप यू फ्रॉम डूइंग एनी ऑफ दीज थिंग्स एज लॉन्ग एज यू स्टे बाय योर सोशल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट विथ मी. जो तुमने काम करना है तुम करो, मैं कभी हाथ नहीं रोकूंगा. एंड दैट्स हाउ आई एम विथ माई किड्स. एंड एज आई ग्रू अप, I clearly, I have a business around it. I remained passionate to gaming. Yet, I had great grades. I went through my entire university for 6 years as a scholarship with 3.8 GPA. I was a runner-up gold medalist. I lost to my wife. You know, she got 0.5 over CGPA more than me. And my kids do fairly well in school. Obviously, education is measured differently now than it was in my time. They're great kids. So first of all, to that belief in the fact that this is not a bad thing came from my father, and then our own achievements. How do we combat that mindset? देखिए, there was a time I used to do it actively. I would go and speak at schools and colleges and universities. That's very tiring and it requires a lot of stamina. वो अब हो नहीं पाता, right? But what we do is we try to put a lot of content out there on social media, celebrating a lot of these players, right? So for example, the first interview we ever did in July 2022 for IGN, when it launched in Pakistan, was a gamer called Mythica. She was one of the most celebrated Valorant female players. in the country. Sweet little girl, lived in Islamabad. And she told me, and well, she's okay with me taking her name now. At that time, she didn't want me to. She told me that her family was incredibly against her going down this line because her father was also in the forces and stuff like retired, but like, whatever. And they wanted her to be more of a traditionalist. And she's like, because of several issues, I couldn't continue my education, but I was really good at what I did. And then, एक और बड़ी sad बात, and allow me to say this here, हमारी esports industry को ना इंडिया ने ज़्यादा support किया बनस्बत हम अपने पाकिस्तानियों ने, ठीक है? So there was this esports league back in the day called Orangutan Esports out of India, still pretty famous. They actually had a lot of our players on payroll, and they were like the nicest people, and they gave a lot of these guys a career. So she was signed by Orangutan Esports out of India, like any freelancer, जिस तरह होता है. And she was so good that she would coach their teams, right? And she would go with them to Singapore and Malaysia. जिस तरह आपके coaches जाते हैं अभी. And she had a thriving career, and her family's mentality changed when she started picking up the tab for the house.
That's typically pretty much everyone's story.
Right? No, but that shows you how fickle we are, right? And then, you know why her career died? Because जब 2020, 19, 20, 21 में जब इंटरनेट के मसले हुए ना और बिजली के मसले हुए, she got fired by every league that had hired her. Because half the time she couldn't go online to train people. Half the time she couldn't participate in tournaments remotely because या तो बिजली चली जाती थी, उनको UPS खरीद के दिए Orangutan Esports ने, लेकिन बिजली जब 8-8 घंटे नहीं होती थी तो UPS भी नहीं चलता था. And she got fired by almost everybody. And now she's again gotten back and coaching, or things are decidedly better now in terms of not really. Sorry. I mean, just imagine we're circling the same drain 6 years later, internet, right? So we put a lot of these stories out there. A lot of girls got in touch with her. Then there was this PUBG champion called Shanze. Grassroots girl did great. We gave her a lot of mileage, right? And girl stories sell a lot more because देखने वाला कहता है यार, forget the fact that they're teenagers. It's a female teenager, right? Who's gotten like all of these accolades. And then obviously the Arsalans and then that guy Shumail, that kid, 15-year-old kid who won Dota, $1.5 million, right? The youngest Dota champion, huh?
LA move kar
gaya, right? Because he got hired, right?
Yeah.
Shit, Shumail won this much money, right? And then last year Arsalan wins like $500,000 in Saudi. And so we depend on a lot of good feel-good stories to drive the narrative. लेकिन to be very honest, ये एक बंदे अकेले का काम नहीं है. Which is why we have started really pushing the government to, because मैं आपको एक honestly बात बताऊँ, जितनी भी गंदी reputation हो गवर्नमेंट की, गवर्नमेंट किसी एक चीज़ को endorse करती है ना, उससे बहुत बड़ा ripple effect आता है. Immediately उसकी legitimacy आ जाती है. ठीक है? Olympic, government, ये सारी चीज़ें. So अकेले के लिए बहुत बड़ा काम है ये, but we are trying to get stories out there. Sorry, आप कुछ कह रहे थे.
You've spoken about the consumers of the gaming industry. To promote the game itself, what's the business model here to actually get these gaming zones back to life?
यार, you know, आप सुनने में शायद बहुत rudimentary लगेगा. किसी ने Field of Dreams देखी है? उससे एक बड़ा मशहूर जुमला है, build it and they will come. Kevin Costner hears this voice and it says, build it and they will come. And he builds a baseball field in the middle of a cornfield. If you've seen that movie. And everybody's like, ये पागल हो गया, यहाँ कौन आएगा? And it's always chock-a-block full because the angel says, build it and they will come. Gaming zone में ना, I'm not exaggerating. Model is just build it and they will come. देखिए, there's a big fundamental shift in gaming zones globally. If you go to Korea and Japan. गेमिंग जोन्स ना वो उस सोच से निकल जाएं कि लाइन से 70 पीसी लगे हुए हैं और लोग बैठे हुए और सारे 6-6 लाख रुपए के पीसी है. नहीं. गेमिंग जोन्स आर थर्ड स्पेसेस. These are social spaces. They're just like a coffee shop, right? So you have, let's suppose Legends were to use that facility to have 100 terminals. Let's call them terminals. 100 seats, right? You would do professional PCs and probably 30 of them. Then you'd do 20 consoles. Then you do 10 arcade.
So it should be a mix of all.
Then you do 10 arcade machines. Then there's a big market for retro machines. You do Sega, Sega. Yeah. You do 10, 12 Sega and Nintendo. You'd have a Nintendo Switch somewhere. You'll have a Wii. Remember the Wii? इतनी बड़ी market है. It needs to be a social space. And I kid you not, हम road पे है ना, हमें feedback आती रहती है हमारे IGN के handle पे. Anyone who does this at scale, and by scale I don't mean 11 stores. I mean Karachi में 3 भी कर लें, वो भी scale है. Right?
What sort of an investment threshold are we looking at?
ये तो बड़ी different direction में चलेगी.
In terms of somebody wants to open a gaming zone.
Yeah, it is the easiest thing. Real estate और कमोडिटी की कीमत, दैट्स इट.
Literally.
लिटरली आपके एक्सेल शीट में 2 डब्बे बनेंगे. राइट साइड आपका रियल एस्टेट होगा, कितने का रियल एस्टेट है, इसका रेंट क्या है, बिजली क्या है. मैंने
नहीं,
बनाया
वो तो
है
आ
ना.
गया in terms of your return on investment. Somebody is going. देखिए, एक चीज जब ट्रेंड से बाहर चली जाती है ना,
देखिए,
it's very
एक
difficult
facility-
for investors to come back in.
एक क्रिटिकल मास, अगर आप क्रिटिकल मास फैसिलिटी बनाए ना 50-60 सीट्स की, you would earn that money back in about 18 to 20 months.
Cause the reason I'm saying, जैसे गेमिंग
That's
जोन
amazing.
एक साथ गई है बाहर, अब वापस उस स्पीड से
Yeah.
नहीं आ रही.
हाँ, सही
इसी
बात
तरह there's an example of frozen yogurts. Frozen
Everywhere.
yogurts came like
Everywhere.
everywhere. I mean,
back.
अब वो
एक
ऐसे
खुला यार बोला,
नहीं 3-4 खुल गए
एक खुला है, वो बड़ा चलना शुरू हुआ है.
नहीं निशात पे खुल गया
अब
है
निशात पर आ
एक
गया.
शहबाज कमर्शियल पे पीछे खुला हुआ है.
हाँ
वो
तो
देखो,
3-4 खुल गए अब.
वो तो एक फैड था.
नहीं,
बट ये गेमिंग
उसकी टाइमिंग गलत थी. फ्रोजन योगर्ट्स
probably.
टाइमिंग वाज
एंड
रॉन्ग.
द फ्रोजन योगर्ट वाज मोस्टली इंपोर्टेड. आपका सारा सामान था,
देखो-
उसकी प्राइस एकदम ऊपर गई थी. गेमिंग इज नॉट अ फैड. आई थिंक
it's not a fact.
It's
but
entertainment.
the only thing is when you have a certain industry which was flourishing at one point of time and suddenly is
पर
wiped
मैंने
off.
आपको वजूहत बता दी ना.
So वो वजूहत तो हो गई, मगर for somebody
Yeah.
to bring that back again, it's going to take some time to get that confidence. For that confidence to come back in, those numbers need to be out.
अच्छा, tell me one thing based on this. Do you think अगर if you had opened Legends 5 years ago DHA said कि आप ये land ले लो, कर लो, do you think it would have worked the same way?
Yeah.
है ना?
Similar.
10 years ago भी I think it would have worked the same way because this need to play sports always existed. ठीक है ना? पाकिस्तान में आई थिंक हुआ ये कि आपका वो जो गेमिंग वाला जो लाइक आई थिंक इमरान एक्सप्लेन इट प्रीटी वेल, काफी चीजें नीचे चली गई बट गेमिंग नहीं खत्म हुई.
नहीं हुई.
Spend बता रहे हैं.
Individual level पे चली गई
हाँ,
ना. Like you
individual.
said, it went to everybody's household.
सबने घर पे करना
खर्चा
शुरू
होता रहा, right?
खर्चा उतना ही
But
होता
there is a need for those social spaces, right? And if I were to, I mean, let's put it this way. If I were to get a space like Legends Arena, I mean, not the whole Legends Arena, जो उसमें जब पार्टी से बने, you could make a great facility there.
Well, one
24
more
hours.
thing at the time, I think उसको dial up internet होता था.
वही
तो
ना.
आप घर पे बैठ के तो खेल नहीं सकते थे.
आप 200
वो
तक-
सर्वर पे जो कनेक्टेड 14, 15, 20
बिल्कुल.
पीसी मिल गए तो मिल गए खेलने के लिए.
और अगर
नहीं,
अपने
लेकिन
दोस्तों के
अब-
साथ खेलना है किस तरह करोगे?
लेकिन
Possible
अभी
नहीं
भी यार, if you go to these gaming zones ना, the social experience is unmatched. And I'm telling you, someone does it at scale professionally. इसी तरीके से बुकिंग करे स्लॉट की, इसी में फंडे होते हैं ना, और क्या फंडे होते
ये
हैं
है
gaming
बाहर
zone पे?
ऐसा मॉडल है
हाँ,
लाइक
yeah,
डज इट
I've seen,
हैपन.
I've seen.
हाँ, मैं अभी थाईलैंड से होके आया हूँ, मैं गेम एक्सपो पे गया हुआ था. बाहर आप गेमिंग जोन्स आप देखें यार, आप इम्प्रेस. एंड इट्स वेरी सिंपल, कोई ज्यादा नहीं करते. इट्स जस्ट द वे इट्स लेड आउट. इट गिव्स अ लॉट ऑफ केयर टू क्रिएटिंग सोशल स्पेसेस. 10-20 सीटें किस तरह कंस्ट्रक्ट हुई होंगी, काउचेस कैसे होंगे, बीन बैग्स कैसे होंगे. वहाँ चले, वहाँ बड़े वाले में अल्कोहल वगैरह होता है, बट चले अल्कोहल का डिस्कार्ड भी कर ले, कॉफी बार बना हुआ है, बार स्टूल्स लगे हुए, लोग फ्रेंच फ्राइज. इट्स सम प्लेस यू कैन जेन्युइनली गो एंड स्पेंड 3 आवर. आपका भी मॉडल इसी पे मुश्तमिल है ना, बंदा 2 घंटा गुजार ले मेरे पास.
Basically, what's going to happen is एक gaming zone की 2 industries हैं. One is who are doing that as a competitive,
Professional.
as a earning stream for them.
Yeah.
And then that social element is something who people are going to do it as a hobby, like how Legends is. Legends में कोई आके कोई national level पे नहीं जाने वाला. It's about people who have been disengaged from sports for X
But the
number of
beautiful
years,
part is the
and
same
they're coming in.
facility serves.
हाँ,
बोथ.
but
आपने पैडल खेला, उसके बाद आप गेमिंग कर ली.
नहीं, उसके अलावा my other question is, this is something I've been wanting to ask you, कि यहाँ से कोई नेशनल लेवल एथलीट नहीं क्रिएट हो सकता इंटरनेशनल लेवल से? फॉर एग्जांपल पैडल मेरे पास वो चीज़ नहीं है जो मेरे पास हर जगह अवेलेबल हो, राइट? बहुत कम इस वक्त अवेलेबल है. और पैडल दुनिया में भी अब एक ग्लोबल वो बन गया है, इसकी वर्ल्ड
पैडल का
चैंपियनशिप.
थोड़ा सा बैकग्राउंड दे दूं. पैडल जो है ना, एक प्रीमियर स्पोर्ट है
Yeah.
around the world.
Yeah.
It is a very it has been placed that way.
Yeah.
So the data is that by the year 2026 it will be second to football.
Second to football.
It will be
It's
second
been
to
played everywhere in the world.
It will be everywhere in the world. The growth level is brilliant because the skill level required to play paddle is
very
next to nil.
Yeah.
So
It's very hard to get better at it. Yeah.
So it's a very difficult. It's a very easy sport to learn, difficult to master.
Yeah.
So, but the good part is, अभी जो pro level पे खेल रहे हैं लोग, that's like the first generation who's playing pro.
Yeah,
So we're not too far behind. So any kid who is right now in the age bracket of 10 to 14, if trained, put in number of the hours, I think we could start with competing on the Middle Eastern level.
Yeah.
And then eventually to the European level.
Unless you get like one anomaly of a person, right? जो आके वो
तो हम अब बड़ा focus कर रहे हैं इसके अंदर to get things going. We're going to be starting a school league.
okay,
Starting
nice.
a school
Yeah.
league. Then we've also started Padel Academy for under 14s.
ठीक है.
So that's twice a week. उसके अंदर से आइडेंटिफाई कर रहे हैं. Eventually, if you find a talent in, उसके ऊपर we gonna be investing in to make a pair of players who will eventually go to a circuit to play. Right now, paddle की मार्केट इस तरह जो बुकिंग स्ट्रीम है ना, वो सिर्फ इनकम अर्निंग ग्रुप आ रहा है खेलने के लिए.
सही बात.
8,000 rupees an hour, and not everybody can afford it. So it's like 2,000 rupees a person per hour.
सही है.
So anybody who's under the age of 18 cannot
Yeah, I
afford it on a regular basis. That's why we've engaged banks. Now we have 9 banks on board. There's 40% off on banks.
Okay.
There's 20% on certain banks. तो वो बड़ा इकोनॉमिकल प्रोसीजर में आ गया कि अब 8,000 का स्लॉट 4,800 में मिल रहा है.
हाँ.
फिर
fair
मॉर्निंग
enough.
4 o'clock से पहले का टाइम हम स्टूडेंट्स को टारगेट कर रहे हैं, तो दैट्स 50% ऑफ.
ठीक है.
So they can come and use it. और इसी तरीके से since the supply right now of the paddle court is very limited, the demand is off the roofs. So anybody who's going to come with the paddle court right now will be full. अब ये talent eventually will come out in 2 to 3 years. We will have a pro team ready. Not on a European level. I don't see that happening right now. But eventually it will happen.
I mean, we did it in squash as well, right?
Yeah.
Squash
And you
में भी
know,
आपके-
funny part is, my thing is, अगर एक बार ये KP में आ गया ना sport, that's in their blood. Racket sport is in their blood.
सही.
When those guys are gonna excel it, so it's gonna go nuts. अभी हो क्या रहा है कि कराची has a lead on paddle.
हाँ.
तो लाहौर में जो टूर्नामेंट्स होते हैं ना, कराची वाले बॉयज फ्लाई इन करते हैं और जीत कर आ जाते हैं. तो that's one thing which we are good in. Otherwise, Lahore sports culture is too far ahead.
Yeah.
I mean, they're excelling in every form of sport they play. Football में शायद we are a little better in terms of cricket. तो there's no comparison.
Yeah.
ये केपी में रैकेट स्पोर्ट एक बार
मुझे किसी ने
क्लिक कर
बताया
गया.
था, शायद अफरीदी के वक्त मुझे बताया था मेरे फादर ने, दैट शायद अफरीदी की भी रिस्ट की बहुत तारीफ होती थी. सो माय फादर यूज्ड टू टेल मी दैट केपी के जो मर्द हैं, दे हैव गॉट वेरी स्ट्रॉन्ग फोर आर्म्स एंड रिस्ट्स. सो दे वेरी गुड एट स्पोर्ट्स दैट रिक्वायर a lot of force of the hand or the wrist, which is tennis.
And you know, as you
squash.
said in e-sport, when there is hunger to excel in something, and you know, you find in this KP area, there's a lot of hunger to, if they find themselves good in something, they will do it. There's certain industries which are dominated by them.
Yeah.
They are with so many industries, transport हो गया, आपका material supply industry हो गई, they are so passionate about it.
They're very entrepreneurial.
And they're sharp, you know, they don't carry a book.
Yeah.
They don't have any register. Everything is clocked in their mind, and their hisab is
Have any of you
top
ever
notch.
had the opportunity to work in Balochistan, by the way?
I have
Not
done
yet.
it in many cities in Balochistan.
Oh, really? Like to go and build up sports facilities?
Yeah. So we've made about 50 futsal grounds in different cities of Balochistan, starting from Chagi to Noshki to
Wow.
Pasni, on the borders areas of Afghanistan and Iran.
The desire for the reason I asked that question was that the desire for representation from Balochi people is incomparable. They have massive grievance for underrepresentation, but that is such a positive for anyone who wants to do something there, because that desire to be considered part of the national conversation is unbelievable. जब मैं वहाँ रोड शोज करता था रैपिड के साथ, ई स्पोर्ट्स का मैंने अभी कुछ भी नहीं किया, they would always be like, आप लोग कभी भी क्वेटा नहीं आते, आप लोग कभी भी एग्जीबिशंस यहाँ नहीं करते, हम लोग नहीं पढ़े लिखे, क्या हमें that hunger for representation is incomparable.
Yeah, well, I think it's a general smaller city problem as well, right? Balochistan overall represents what percentage of Pakistan's population? Very small amount.
Very small percentage.
So वहाँ से फिर representation भी आपके सारे national fronts पे थोड़ी कमी होगी. But I
But
do
you
get
do
your
understand
point.
it's anomalous. It's underrepresented
It is
to
underrepresented.
almost an anomalous extent.
I think that grievance is across the board in every province in terms of how they're represented. Balochistan का सिर्फ issue ये Sindh का similar issue. Single city is developed. That's quite.
Yeah. But वैसे, so slightly off topic, but having a discussion with my friend actually 2 दिन पहले ही, न्यूयॉर्क का जो सिर्फ जीडीपी कंट्रीब्यूशन है ना अमेरिका में, it's $2 trillion a year, like New York's GDP. That's like 8 times of all of Pakistan's GDP. And they probably have like, उनकी population क्या है? Like, I think it's 1/10 of, not even 1/10 of Pakistan. It's probably like हाँ, roughly like 1/10 ही पाकिस्तान का होगा, 2 करोड़ लोग होंगे न्यूयॉर्क में वगैरह उस तरह. So, there will, like, cities work, it's probably man's greatest invention. Cities work a certain way, जहाँ पे सारे लोग एक जगह आते हैं, and the compounding that happens in terms of the contribution to the national war is much higher in big cities. So वो तो होगा. देखो कराची, I think पाकिस्तान का सबसे बड़ा शहर है, तो यहाँ पे तो जाहिर सी बात है वो सारा होगा. But again, I don't see why we can't offer more avenues to people sitting in smaller cities. So as a lawyer, when I meet a lot of entrepreneurs, everyone wants to build कि जी मैं एक fintech का कुछ बना लूँ या मैं वो बना लूँ, and जो मेरी एक उनसे सारी बात होती है यार, like listen, just see where your unfair advantage is in life. कोई तो ऐसा perspective है जो तुम्हारे पास है जो मेरे पास नहीं है, right? Because, like for example, taking Talal's example, like I don't think anyone else would have really gone ahead with this Legends Arena type situation because उनके पास वो like sports facility construct करने का वो
नहीं, वो
नहीं है.
Legends जब मैं शुरू कर रहा था तो हर चीज़ add on हो ही जा रही थी ना. I wanted to take it to a level where it becomes a standard. So a lot of friends of mine are like, you're going overboard with this.
Yeah, exactly. कि यार 4 ही कोर्ट बना ले बहुत है, वो ही नहीं बिकेंगे
कोच के
शायद.
ऊपर भी नहीं था. तो everything which we have done in Legends is it's at a level.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we did not leave anything unturned in terms of what we are doing there. मतलब कि कॉम्प्रोमाइज नहीं किया हमने किसी भी एस्पेक्ट के ऊपर. लाइटिंग किस तरह होनी है उसकी पार्किंग कैसे होनी है, वॉशरूम्स, पब्लिक स्पेसेस के अंदर देयर इज अ बिग प्रॉब्लम विद वॉशरूम.
Yeah, of course.
सो वी हैव शावर रूम्स, वी हैव वॉशरूम्स एट पार विद एनी 5-star hotel.
And they get cleaned regularly.
We have a janitorial staff like a hotel. I mean, person comes out, the guy goes in, cleans and comes out.
Okay.
So this is क्योंकि बहुत सी रिक्रिएशनल स्पेसेस पे वॉशरूम्स का प्रॉब्लम है.
Yeah.
वो यूज नहीं कर सकते. तो आधे लोग तो मैसेज करते थैंक यू फॉर द वॉशरूम, थैंक यू फॉर दैट.
नहीं, so that's an interesting point because मैं जब बच्चा पार्टी पे भी गया, the one thing I noticed in the retail experience was कि it was not like any other retail experience in Pakistan. मैं जब गया तो वहाँ पे I was greeted immediately at the door by someone. I was just walking around. तो जब भी किसी की retail staff की मुझ पे नज़र पड़ी, they greeted me. They kept a distance. They were not one of those कि जो आके आपके पीछे पड़ जाते हैं सर क्या करूँ वगैरह. But if someone saw me just looking around aimlessly, they came and they asked me if they could help. And I said कि नहीं मैं वैसे ऐसे ही जा रहा हूँ, and they just backed off. That is not what I'm used to generally with retail in Pakistan, right? And similarly, what you're saying. So, like, what I understand is कि like Pakistani consumer अब ready है एक premium pay करने के लिए.
User experience is essence for your success.
They want to pay a premium to get like that world-class user experience and
देखिए आप.
But one second though, like how did you like bring that in Bacha Party? Like
So-
because your competitors are not doing that.
So exactly, you pointed it out correctly, and literally any of my friend or anyone who goes to Bacha Party points this out कि यार इतने salam, they feel good about it, like कि हमें importance मिल रही है. So what we decided a couple of years ago was that what is our competitive advantage, right? Like what if a competitor comes in and takes our model and runs with it? What is our competitive advantage? So we were like, we want to make the customer experience our competitive advantage. So what we did was, and we were the first ones to do it, and I don't think it exists in any other retail brands. We started a customer experience department. It was a separate department headed by a senior resource. We have a whole team of CROs that analyze the customer data. First thing that the customer experience department did was that when the customer comes in, they should feel welcome. That's it. They should feel welcome and they should feel like, there are our guests. हमारे मेहमान हैं वो.
ठीक.
सही है. तो फिर उसके ऊपर एक ट्रेनिंग का हमने पूरा 1.5 ट्रेनिंग की. We basically Irtugal was really famous at that time. So we just taught them कि यहाँ पे हाथ रख के बस सलाम करना है. उसमें भी कुछ इसी तरह का है.
Yeah.
So that's kind of the model. That was the training that we did. And the second thing was monitoring. So they get bonuses. They get rewards for doing it a certain way. So those were the two things: training and then monitoring
But-
through CCTVs.
How would you say is like the retail in Pakistan with the customer experience is different from retail in say US or Canada where you had experience from?
I think what we're doing at Bacha Party is we want to achieve that standard.
Okay, fine.
You want to feel welcomed.
Yeah.
You want to feel like you've come somewhere and we're feeling like someone's there to help us. So that's the level that we're trying to achieve, and
Yeah.
I think we're pretty close to that.
क्योंकि पाकिस्तान में जब like I think most customers feel like यार मैं चोरी करने आ रहा हूँ यहाँ पे लिटरली. अगर मुझे कुछ रिटर्न भी करना होता है ना तो वो हमेशा मुझे उस तरह से देखता है कि यार ये पता नहीं किस क्यों रिटर्न कर रहे हैं वगैरह. Yeah.
So that's another thing we do as a customer experience focused brand. Very few questions on return and exchange.
Okay.
We'll return and exchange, and it's sunnat also, right?
Yeah.
Like we'll be like कि भाई अगर आपको कुछ चीज समझ नहीं आई, we'll take it back. You can buy something else. We even do a refund. We'll give you your money back also. that's the kind of confidence we want to have on our product.
सही.
But then the problem इसके अंदर ये भी आ जाती है कि people end up exploiting that loopholes.
So interesting thing you said, because this was my opinion too. I'm like, what if we get exploited? What if customers exploit this? But that is 0.1%. What happens is when जो लोग exchange कराने आते हैं ना, वो दो चीजें और लेकर ही चले जाते हैं. So फायदा ही हो जाता है उससे. तो ये बहुत कम लोग हैं. हमारा ये एक mentality ये है, there are some people who misuse the system. But it's a very low percentage.
हम अभी Legends के लिए जो ऐप डेवलप कर रहे हैं ऑनलाइन की, so we are doing it from a US based company who's doing it for us. We have found so many bugs, not bugs, so many glitches in it, and they're like scratching their heads. They're like, हमने 1200 क्लब को ये ऐप बना के दे दी है, and you are coming with angles which we have never heard before.
Yeah,
because you haven't worked with Pakistanis.
I was like, if you leave a loophole here, I'm gonna be exploited to
Yeah.
my last breath.
100%.
Because they're not used to a cash dominant market. उन्होंने आज तक cash dominant
100%.
market के अंदर किया ही नहीं है. और हमारे पास cash का flow काफी, although Legends के अंदर हमने बहुत ज़्यादा curtail कर दिया यार. Padel courts 90% billing is banking channels.
Digital. सही.
Because it's prepaid booking, so you have to pay and then do it. And because the cards are also coming in, तो वो भी आपने ऑन साइड आगे स्वाइप करने, तो वो कैश के ऊपर इतने लूपहोल्स है उसके अंदर. वो पिछले एक महीने से ना पागल हुए हैं कि ये कौन सा एंगल ले आए हैं.
देखिए, इन्होंने एक बात की थी एक्सपीरियंसेस की, एज अ सस्टेनेबल कंपेरेटिव एडवांटेज, और इन्होंने भी कहा था कि एक्सपीरियंसेस की आदत हो गई है लोगों को अब. एंड देयर इज वन एरिया वेयर पाकिस्तान जेन्युइनली लैग्स बिहाइंड इन एवरीथिंग दैट वी काइंड ऑफ डू. आप अक्सर लोग से सुनते हैं एक चीज़ बड़ी अच्छी स्टार्ट हुई, बाद में डिग्रेड हो गई. So very similar to what he said, कि how do we make a model that if someone takes it and runs with it, can't go much further with it, right?
Yeah.
Because इनके पास तो फिर भी जो इनका काम है उसमें brick and mortar की investment है, मेरे काम में तो services है, right? There's no brick and mortar investment in it. So and I have no fear in sharing my secret sauce because I know people have difficulty replicating it. हमने कहा यार, what is that one single thing जिसकी वजह से eSports और gaming की इंडस्ट्री में distrust है और लोग इंटरेस्ट नहीं लेते, राइट? तो आपके ख्याल में वो क्या सिंगल चीज थी?
No idea.
प्राइज मनी नहीं मिलती.
अच्छा, लोग टूर्नामेंट करा देते फिर आखिर में पैसे नहीं
एंड मैं बड़े बड़े ब्रांड्स की बात कर रहा हूँ, इंटरनेशनल, आई डोंट वांट टू नेम देम हियर बिकॉज़ आई माइट एंड अप वर्किंग विद देम एट सम पॉइंट. पर बड़े बड़े ब्रांड 40-40 दिन के टूर्नामेंट में करोड़ों की कस्में खाई, कोई पैसे नहीं मिले. लोकल टूर्नामेंट होते हैं, कोई पैसे नहीं मिले. या टूर्नामेंट वे और गेमर को बोला कि पहले हम में पैसे मिलेंगे, अपना शेयर काट के तुम्हें देंगे. साल हो गए. अच्छा, क्योंकि रिकग्नाइज इंडस्ट्री नहीं है तो कंज्यूमर कोर्ट का कोई कॉन्सेप्ट नहीं है, कोई ऐसी चीज़ नहीं है. सो वन ऑफ द फर्स्ट थिंग्स वी डिड वाज आई टोल्ड माई टीम कि हम कभी भी कोई बड़ा टूर्नामेंट नहीं करेंगे, इवन इफ इट्स अ ब्रांड स्पॉन्सर्ड टूर्नामेंट, क्योंकि ब्रांड से पैसे तो बाद में मिलेंगे ना. B2B आप इन्वॉइस करेंगे, टैक्स क्लियरेंस चीज़ें. हम कभी भी टूर्नामेंट नहीं करेंगे जितना हमारे पास अपने अकाउंट में कैश फ्लो नहीं होगा फॉरेन प्राइज मनी देने के लिए. आई सेड हमारा कंपैरेटिव एडवांटेज ये होगा कि 50,000 रुपए का टूर्नामेंट हो या 15 लाख का हो, 48 घंटे में ना उसके रैप्टर वॉलेट में पैसे जाने चाहिए. बिकॉज दिस इज वन थिंग पीपल विल नॉट बी एबल टू रेप्लिकेट, राइट? तो हम तो खैर से बहुत आगे चले गए कि जो ऑनलाइन टूर्नामेंट होते थे, तो जिसका 10,000, हम उसे ब्लिट्स टूर्नामेंट्स कहते हैं, फ्लैश टूर्नामेंट्स, बस अभी लॉन्च हुए, 2 दिन चला, वीकेंड पे पैसे दिए. तो इस तरह भी हम करते हैं कि 9 बजे लेट्स सपोज टूर्नामेंट खत्म हुआ, 10 बजे उसके रैप्टर वॉलेट में उसके प्राइस मनी पहुंच गई है कि यार ये लो पैसे, रख के मैं क्या कर लूंगा उससे, ठीक है? सो दैट क्रिएटेड अ लेवल ऑफ कॉन्फिडेंस एंड ट्रस्ट. अच्छा यार, इनके टूर्नामेंट में ये 2 नंबरी तो नहीं होगी, अच्छा ये होगा वो होगा. सो एक्सपीरियंसेस के भी बहुत मारे में पाकिस्तानी, वेयर दे आर नॉट यूज्ड टू अ सर्टेन रिलायबिलिटी व्हेन इट कम्स टू आइदर प्रोडक्ट्स. अब जैसे हमने छोटी सी बात की, रिटर्न पे सवाल नहीं है यार. आपने कभी कुछ रिटर्न किया है जिंदगी में किसी बड़े ब्रांड को?
अक्सर मैं नहीं जाता यार.
मैं पी जाता हूँ, आई स्वेयर टू यू, आई एम नॉट जोकिंग. अगर मैंने कोई 10,000 की भी पतलून ली है ना और मुझे लगा कि 19-20 है, मैं बोलूँगा चलो
दे देता हूँ,
गुजारा कर लेंगे. आई एम नॉट गोना गो थ्रू दैट अगेन, राइट? बट इफ यू एवर रिटर्न समथिंग एट H&M's abroad और Zara's abroad, it's very mechanical. यू आया, टैग चेक किया, यू रखा, बोला चल के जाओ, दूसरा लेके आया, ये बारकोड स्कैन किया, ये बारकोड स्कैन किया, थैंक यू वेरी मच, लीव.
ये जो ट्रस्ट की बात है ना, ये है, दैट्स द मेन थिंग.
एंड जो आपने एक बात बोली ना, ये मुझे मेरी पुरानी जिंदगी में साइबरनेट एंड दानिश एंड ऑल द लखानीज वुड टेल मी, our perception of fraudulent activities is a lot larger than the actual level of fraudulent. Because हमें आदत हो गई है. आपने बोला ना 0.1 पर, I would have said that same number myself अगर आप number ना बताते. लोग नहीं चुना लगाते उतना ज़्यादा जितना हम assume
I learned
करते
this from the founder of Kolachi restaurant जो कराची में ना he said the same thing. He's like यार कोई हमें बोलता है ना कि यार ये ठंडा आया है खाना, no questions asked, immediately pick it up, put it back there.
वो तो इतना कर देते हैं कि आपको यार बस
Yeah,
यार नहीं पूछना, अब
exactly.
मत पूछना यार कि खाना
Exactly.
कैसा
नहीं अक्सर मैंने कई दफा उनको बोला खाना कैसे, मैं कहा खाने दोगे तो बताऊंगा यार खाना कैसा है. But they're awesome man. Like that's the next level of customer service.
Another set of questions that I wanted to ask you guys was कि अगर मैं अभी फॉर एग्जांपल पाकिस्तान में एक 20-25 साल का बच्चा है, अभी उसने से यूनिवर्सिटी ग्रेजुएट कर ली है या अभी एक नौकरी में एंड इज थिंकिंग अबाउट स्टार्टिंग अ बिजनेस राइट, कोई भी एंटरटेनमेंट वगैरह स्पेस का कोई बिजनेस है. सो सबसे पहले तो वेयर डू यू गाइज सी दी अपॉर्चुनिटीज, लाइक थिंग्स दैट यूर डूइंग उससे या तो एडजेसेंट या उसके अलावा कौन सी अपॉर्चुनिटीज़ हैं दैट इफ़ यू आर नॉट डूइंग व्हाट यू वर और से समबडी एल्स वाज डूइंग दिस, आप कहते हैं यार हाँ मैं तो इधर से इस जगह को टैकल करता, लाइक whoever wants to take this.
Yeah, I think if I were to give advice to my younger self who's 25, 26 or a kid right now, I think there is a great need, if you're passionate about it, there's a great need for pop culture social spaces, right? So, and I'll explain to you what that means. And that's a terminology that's used in Japan, in Korea. So, for example, Japan में they have a lot of anime and manga culture. हमारे लिए वो external है, उनके लिए तो बड़ा domesticated. It's part of their life when they're growing up. And they have these social spaces where they have cafes and there's comic books and manga and anime and merchandise and paraphernalia. And it's a space for like-minded people to hang out, buy things, read things, socialize and share experiences. वहाँ पर meetups भी होते हैं, वहाँ पर चीज़ें भी होती हैं.
How do they do as a business?
They do great. I mean, you can YouTube this stuff. There's hundreds of them in a small city area, right? And Japan is designed a bit differently. तो वो बिल्डिंगों के अंदर second floor पे, third floor पे, ground floor पे गली कूचों में बने हुए होंगे. I saw a very similar thing in Thailand as well when I went now. I've seen similar things in Korea as well, especially in most of these Asian countries. I think in Pakistan, what I've learned in Pakistan when I was traveling throughout the last 2-3 years in doing Raptr is there is a great demand for social spaces around popular pop culture content, right? So whether that be like-minded people coming together for gaming, whether for books, for movies, for comics, for whatever you call it. So I didn't even know that in Karachi, a very large anime subculture existed. To an extent where I was once invited to Habit City. आपने देखा है ना? Habit City में छोटा सिनेमा बना हुआ है. And they said you're invited to the season finale of One Piece. I'm like, okay, there's an actual invitation to a cinema showing for the final episode of, you all know what One Piece is, I'm assuming, of One Pice. And then when I went there, I was like, holy shit, आवाम आई हुई है, cosplay करके आई हुई है, चीजें लेके आई हुई है, toys लेके आए हुए हैं. And that was just One Piece, right? And now if you talk about Attack on Titan, Berserker, वो एक अलग level है, right? So then and that's what I saw when I went to Lahore and even the smaller cities, right? So if I would do something even now, or if I would tell my younger self to do it, creating these social spaces, हर शहर में 4-5 social spaces where like-minded people can sit, eat. Obviously, we love eating, eat, drink, but also have conversations. याद है एक ज़माने में एक जगह खुली थी जहाँ board games आप उठा के खेल सकते थे. I forget what that place was called.
Like Karachi में?
Karachi में खुली थी, right?
Clifton
Roadside
में.
cafe.
Clifton में,
Roadside cafe, right? But that was just one very small implementation of that idea, right?
अभी भी चाय मास्टर वगैरह where you have tables.
Yeah, but that's very rudimentary, right? It's not like a designed space for it. So I believe genuinely आज अगर आप pop culture focus social spaces खोलें, you will see so many people gravitate there. Think of it like a T2F for pop culture.
I understand, yeah.
Right? But obviously done in a very different youthful way. There's less activism involved and stuff like that. And you will see that आपके पास जगह कम पड़ जाएगी. Because आज वो social spaces ना informally public spaces में हैं. You have meetups at coffee shops. You have actually, if you follow those groups on Insta and Facebook, they will announce meetup हो रहा है Square पे, meetup हो रहा है फलाना, meetup हो रहा है फलानी जगह पे, चॉप पे. अभी मैं कुछ छोटी सी बात बताऊँ, Dungeons and Dragons. We all have heard of Dungeons and Dragons, right?
Board game.
And you've been after me for a while to do something around that. So let me tell you, there's a Dungeons and Dragons tournament next week on the weekend. We're covering it. I was about to tell you. I didn't even know सब culture यहाँ exist करता है. एक जगह है यहाँ पर chaotic neutral के नाम से.
Neutral के नाम से, yeah, it's on Seaview.
Right? The whole place is booked for 40-50 participants, 5 dungeon masters, 50 players. We are broadcasting it, somebody else is broadcasting it as well. It's called chaotic neutral because that's apparently also a D&D term, a D&D experience. अब ये कहाँ से लाइक माइंडेड लोग आए? कहीं से तो ढूंढे होंगे, कहीं कन्वर्ज. आई रिफ्यूज टू बिलीव मेटा पे कन्वर्ज किए हैं, किसी फिजिकल स्पेस पे पहले कन्वर्ज किए होंगे, एंड नाउ समबडी इज डूइंग, हमसे कुछ पैसे ले रहा है, वो किसी और स्पॉन्सर से ले रहा है. इसका मतलब है देयर इज अ नीड फॉर पीपल टू गेट टुगेदर एंड डिस्कस देयर पॉप कल्चर पैशन. एंड एनीवन हु क्रिएट्स a food and beverage or social construct around it, ace. I mean, that's what I would do.
No, that's a very interesting space because I think what all of you guys are doing is somewhat creating a third space, right?
Exactly.
For younger Pakistanis. So what about you, Talal? What do you think?
Business के certain principles हैं which you need to follow in order to be successful in any business. Giving in advice to open a certain sort of a business will never work. For example, if you want to open a business and you take advice from a third person, and if you're not passionate about it, I mean, you can just listen and आप feasibility बनाते रहोगे, यार ये चल रहा है, नहीं चल रहा है, ये कभी भी click नहीं होता. It always comes from within.
सही बात.
You need to visualize and see if I'm passionate about it, and then you keep rethinking it, that how do you see it happen, unfold in the next few years. Because that concept, if that kicks in, कोई space पे limited नहीं रहती. Even the competitive space के अंदर भी, किसी भी competitive industry के अंदर you can open a business which can be successful, but the fact is that you need to be passionate about it. It cannot be successful without the passion element being missing
100%.
there.
But passion is one element, right? The other
Yeah.
element has to be viability. How did you like feel कि हाँ this is viable? Like from a like इसमें पैसे बन भी जाएंगे मेरे.
Like my principles of doing business is very different. I'm very instinctive when I do things.
Okay.
So it's something which just, if an idea clicks in my mind, I'll rethink it, think it into a way that how in that limited space it can become a unique product from that market. अब जो sports industry है, futsal grounds are numerous in the city.
सही बात है. हाँ. हर
Numerous
जगह
हैं.
Yeah.
मगर जो उसको एक नेक्स्ट लेवल पे लेकर जाने की बात है वो कोई नहीं लेकर जाता. Because as I said again, most businesses come with the mentality of making money. So that mentality makes you money very quickly, but makes you lose money very quickly as well. So the whole concept is to be becoming the talk of the town. So as I told you, the passion plays a big role. You have to create a mindset where you need to come in a business saying that you need to become the go-to place. And then the money flow follows on that. In terms of when Legend started, we ran a lot of numbers in terms of running, and those numbers on books seemed very decent, although we were very conservative with our functionality. हम लोगों ने जब feasibility बनाई थी, तो हमने इसकी consumption rate रखा था that we'll be utilizing 30% of these hours.
Okay.
12 घंटे के 30% hours हमारे throttle में चलेंगे.
अच्छा सिर्फ 30% आपने रखा
30%
था
के
12 घंटे पे.
हाँ.
So मतलब
अगर
4
उसके अंदर paddle influx was very less. Paddle was in our feasibility just 2 courts.
ठीक है.
So we are banging on more on futsal and cricket. मगर फिर जैसे ही we started going into the operations, we understood the dynamics of how each sport works. So football is a everyday sport which people play. Our futsal grounds are full. But there's a cut-off time. No footballer comes post 12 a.m.
अच्छा उसके
Futsal
बाद
finishes at 12 a.m. Cricket starts at 10 p.m. and it goes on till 2 or 4 o'clock.
सही.
Paddle has no hours. As soon as you find a slot, you will come and play.
Like रात के 4 बजे भी आ
4
रहे, 3
बजे
बजे भी आ रहे.
5 बजे मैंने बताया ना, people come in walk in at 5 a.m. तो पैडल का कोई आवर ही नहीं है in terms of playing. Then सुबह 6 बजे भी आ जाते हैं, सो के भी आ जाते हैं. जो सोते नहीं हैं वो 4 बजे आते हैं, जो सोकर आते हैं वो सुबह 6 बजे आ जाते हैं.
सही.
तो इसकी डायनामिक्स ऐसी चलती हैं कि it was something, something you don't just in your feasibilities is just not reported.
Yeah, exactly. And what was the thinking behind कि यार सिर्फ 30, like you went with a super conservative figure. But जब आप कर भी रहे थे, did you know that this is a conservative figure or did you think कि नहीं यार ये तो मैं अपनी तरफ से बहुत conservative हो रहा हूँ, मुझे पता है इससे ज़्यादा होगा.
Conservative figure इसलिए भी लेके जाते हैं, देखिए since this was a big investment. So we went all in and we had number of investors on board as well. So you cannot give a la-la land to your investors saying that we're going to do this. Eventually if it happens, very good. The trust factor just goes up. But if you give that figure from day one, then you're misleading people. So that's one thing. Every time you start a business, you need to be very conservative in your numbers because you need to raise capital. If you want to go big, there's a capital raising rounds. You just can't show figures just based on your thought process.
What was your capital journey? Like किस तरह पैसे raise किए थे इसके लिए?
So mostly has been funded by my main company.
ठीक है.
Then our partners have also pitched in, and then it's basically through friends and family. We had a lot of opportunity going through banking channels, but we Ahmer discussed this before. Getting banks on board is a liability itself.
Why? Why do you say that?
Because with the floating rate of interest rates right now, when Legend started, the interest rates were at 22%. अभी शायद 19 या 20 पे हैं.
हाँ अभी भी नहीं. Feasible तो बिल्कुल भी नहीं है.
22% के ऊपर you miss a payment deadline, they send a notice. When you have private investors on board, they see the progress being made. So you get a leverage. And if your reputation is good in the market, so you get that leverage of delaying on your repayments.
अच्छा, for a business like this, जो आपकी investor, like you can choose to share how much if you want, but जो इस तरह के businesses में जो investor होता है, वो आपको debt दे रहा होता है, equity दे रहा होता है, उसको क्या जैसे जैसे profit बन रहा होता है उसको उसका cut चाहिए होता है या वो एक long term view ले रहा है?
So there are different models to go about it. A lot of people don't want to go to the interest model.
हाँ सही है.
कुछ होता है कि उसको debt के form में treat करो, but debt is a floating debt. So you fix, for example, there's a capex involved in a certain project.
ठीक है.
And you are raising a capital against that. So you create a threshold that this is the percentage of the money dedicated to the investor pool.
ठीक है.
उसके basis के ऊपर investor is tagged with a certain percentage of percentage based on their investment से 5% का उसने एक investment pool ले लिया.
ठीक है.
And that 5% is a floating percentage based on the profit output.
So जो भी profit आएगा वो equally उस पूरे pool में distribute हो
उस
जाएगा.
pool में
100 रुपए का profit
and
है
it's
तो 5%
variable
तो
based
5.
on your net profit.
ठीक है.
So that becomes Sharia compliant as well at the same time.
Of course.
And that could be treated as a debt or if somebody comes in as a buy-in. So we have not diluted at all.
ठीक है.
So the whole concept of Legends is to make it a national brand. And when the stage comes, that's when the dilution is eventually.
So every जो investor है हर project का investor separate है.
Project तो भी Legends का एक ही है.
So उसके वो separate हैं. But say if you were to go out and do a different one, you would have a different set of investors maybe,
Yeah,
or the same people might want to be interested
Yeah.
in that. ठीक है.
So it
Okay,
can
that's
run both
interesting.
ways.
Okay. So Ahmer, what do you think? Where do you think are the spaces or opportunities in Pakistan?
So in
Especially in
terms,
this sector.
yeah. So in terms of advice that I would give, I think when Imran gave his story, I think the level of research that he's done was amazing. It was really good to hear the level of research that he had done. So I think that's really important for any new entrepreneur. You have to do the research. There's no going around that.
अच्छा, but क्या research around what?
So, like he was saying, he went all over Pakistan, right? Like, you have to do that level of research because you're investing a bunch of money and you need to be sure, that these are the numbers. Even with us, like, the feasibility we made was not what was the reality, but it was close because we did all the work, right? We spoke to other retailers, we spoke to salesmen, we did a whole analysis of salaries. So we made a feasibility and it was obviously not, 100% there. And the second thing is, like Talal said, to have that flexibility. You make that feasibility, but pata chala ke Padel was more successful, but you thought futsal would be more successful. So having that flexibility and making changes based on that flexibility, on those, things that are thrown on you, the curveballs that come, and what do you do during those times? So I think that's really important. So for example, we had opened our first store in Clifton, Punjab Chirangi. A year into it, we were opening our second store in Lucky One. वो underpass बनना शुरू हो गया, वो पंजाब चौरंगी वाला. Sales dropped by 30%. पूरी feasibility was out. So what was in our circle of influence? What can we do? We can't fix this road. We can't, kind of manage this road. What can we do to bring in the customers, to increase our sales, to break even? At that time, break even was enough.
Yeah.
भाई break even कर लो. Road ही खत्म हो गया था ना, मतलब people couldn't come for 6-8 months. So having that flexibility, so the advice I would give is the more flexibility you have, the higher the influence you have on the system.
And
So
focus
have
on what is in your control.
One thing
Yeah,
to add
exactly.
on, once your business is started, बहुत से लोग करते क्या हैं कि एक बार capital investment कर ली, and you see that you have gone wrong in certain places, you need to constantly evolve.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
So you need to
100%.
make those changes so that you become relevant. So the investment just does not stop when you start operations.
100%.
It's an ongoing process. You can't be very
Rigid to it.
rigid to it that you have to change.
Remember
I mean, we changed so many things in this 1 year. उसकी वजह से वो because we want to sustain that level of influx all year round.
100%.
Yeah, exactly.
And when it's like, and I resonate with that. When we started initially, we started with something very different. Again, very much in demand.
Share the how, like, I think there are 2 or 3 different things that you had to
Yeah.
go
So what we do now was always part of the plan, but it was not item number 1. This was item number 2 and 3. Item number 1 was we were working with a few international partners to make Pakistan's first 5 versus 5 first-person shooter,
Okay.
Counter-Strike level, right?
through. Karachi के maps वगैरह ये.
We had done principal photography, Karachi, Liari, और इलाके, Minare
Were you planning
Pakistan,
shoot out at Liari?
Ghanta
वो तो वैसे ही हो जाता है.
Ghar in Faisalabad, market in Peshawar, and 6 months of development work on, and we were going to be the first product on Unreal Engine 5 in anywhere in the world, right? And हमने 6 महीने की development की, and we were like completely committed to it, क्योंकि आपने rigidity बोली और आपने fluidity बोली, and we were like all excited, and including Mubariz and everybody else, we were like, यार ये करना है. And then somewhere down the line, we went like, wait a second, the country is heading in a place on a dollar value point of view, and economics point of view, that मैं बना तो लूँगा, लेकिन जब मैं इसको मार्केट और पब्लिश करने जाऊंगा पैसे नहीं होंगे, मुल्क में ही पैसे नहीं होंगे ये काम करने के लिए. And so we immediately cut the cord, saved all, so that thankfully the assets are still there. को market better होती, I'll just resume, right? But we took our learnings on the social side of it and immediately implemented it into phase 2 and 3, जो कि वैसे ही होना था लेकिन 2 साल बाद होना था और हमने आज कर लिया. So मैं तो खुद अपनी ज़िंदगी में कर चुका हूँ कि यार इन्वेस्टर का पैसा आया हुआ है, ये चीज़ अभी नहीं कर रहे तो फ़ौरन ख़त्म करो और अगले पे जाओ. But one thing I want to add जो उन्होंने बोली, if I wear the hat I wear when I usually judge startups at NIC in Lahore, Islamabad, Karachi, other places, what he said on research is so true, right? One of the biggest things I criticize startups on when they're pitching at the NICs is also, and I'm using this word on purpose, टके की research नहीं की हुई होती.
Yeah.
They've woken up, they believe their mind is the universe, they believe the idea अच्छा है, and they come and they make a pitch deck and they come and present to you, and you're completely okay with them not having the facts right. You're completely okay with them not having all the answers to the questions that you have. What you will never be okay with is that person not knowing themselves कि वो क्या करने आया है. ठीक है?
Yeah.
मैं आपको एक बहुत छोटी सी मिसाल देता हूँ. And sorry, so just capping that, one of the things I always tell, I do Exceed as well, वो INSEAD वाला, I do NIC as well. मैं कहता हूँ भाई रिसर्च करो और 2-4 किताबें पढ़ लो. EPUBs, libgen. उस पर फ्री पढ़ी हुई होती है. 1-2 किताबें पढ़ लो, ब्लिंकिस्ट कर लो अगर पूरी नहीं पढ़नी, और थोड़ी रिसर्च कर लो, राइट? एंड मैं आपको एक छोटी सी मिसाल देता हूँ. अब हम 2024 में बैठे हुए. IoT इज अ वेल एस्टैब्लिश्ड थिंग. ऐप के थ्रू गाड़ी को मॉनिटर करना, ये करना, वो करना, पुरानी बातें हो चुकी हैं. ट्रैकर एंड नैव ट्रैक हैज बीन अराउंड सिंस आई वाज इन कॉलेज. सो दिस किड कम्स अप टू मी एंड ही सेज, जी मैंने आपसे डिस्कशन करनी है और मैं आपका वेट कर रहा था क्योंकि आप टेक बैकग्राउंड के, NIC. मैं कहा ठीक है. तो मैं बैठ गया चाय लेके उसके साथ. उसने कहा मेरे पास एक आइडिया है, और वो आइडिया ये है कि मैं मोबाइल चोरी रोकूंगा. आई वाज लाइक ग्रेट. कराची के कॉन्टेक्स्ट में एक तो मैंने उसे बोला सबसे पहले तो ये बताओ ये तुमने नेशनल प्रॉब्लम समझी हुई या क्या? कहते हैं नेशनल प्रॉब्लम. मैं कहा नहीं है, ये कराची का मसला है. नेशनल नंबर्स आर सो स्मॉल फॉर मोबाइल पिलफरेज कि इट्स नॉट इवन अ नेशनल प्रॉब्लम, इट्स अ कराची प्रोडक्ट. मगर चलो ठीक है, बताओ क्या सीन है. उसने कहा हम मोबाइल में एक सॉफ्टवेयर लगाएंगे जो मोबाइल चोरी होने से रोकेगा. मैं कहा कैसे? उसने कहा जब मोबाइल आप बंद भी कर देना अगर, तो वो उसका लोकेशन भेजते रहेगा. मैंने कहा ओके, किसको लोकेशन भेजा? कहता हमारी वेबसाइट होगी, उस पर आपको GPS आ रहा होगा. मैंने कहा वंडरफुल. तो कहता आपको पता चल जाएगा कि आपका मोबाइल इस वक्त यहाँ है या चमन बॉर्डर पे पहुंच गया है. ठीक है. आई से ग्रेट. तो फिर लाइक तो वो मोबाइल रिट्रीव होगा. देखा करके कौन लाएगा चमन बॉर्डर से तुम्हारे लिए? उसने कहा पुलिस वाले. मैं कहा तुम पुलिस वाले को पाकिस्तान छोड़ दो, अमेरिका में 911 फोन करो और बोलो मेरे $100 का मोबाइल इस वक्त सैन फ्रांसिस्को से एलए चले गया, जरा वापस ला के दे सकते हैं? वो बोलेगा तुम्हारा दिमाग ठीक है कि पब्लिक फंड्स का हम इस्तेमाल करेंगे तुम्हारे $100 का फोन वापस लाने के लिए? ठीक है, कह रहे नहीं हम चमन बॉर्डर से उनको बोलेंगे बॉर्डर वालों को कि हमें फोन दे दे। बेटा ऐसा कहाँ होता है? ही लाइक अच्छा तो मेरे ख्याल से बात बताओ, तुम्हें तो लोकेशन तो आज भी पता चल जाती है, तुम्हारा मसला ये है कि फोन वापस कौन लेके आएगा? कह रही हमने तो सोचा था पुलिस वाले ले आएंगे। मैं बेटा पुलिस वाले के लिए क्या इंसेंटिव होगा, क्योंकि वो तो वैसे ही अंडर स्टाफ्ड है, वो अपनी गाड़ी कहते हैं हम आईजी को बोलेंगे स्टाफिंग बढ़ाए। मैंने कहा बताओ, आपने बोला और आईजी ने कहा मेरा जो 20 साल पुराना मसला है वो आपके कहने से सॉल्व हो गया। तो इस किस्म की चीजें ना, अगर आप दो दोस्तों में भी बैठ जाए ना तो मेरी जरूरत नहीं थी, वो दो दोस्त ही आपस में उस आइडिया का तिया पाचा कर देते कि यार ये फोन लेके कौन आएगा, आईजी बंदे कहाँ से ऐड, अच्छा मैं कहा फिर उनको कौन बताएगा? हम उनको बोलेंगे हमारे लिए एक नेशनल सेल क्रिएट करें जिसमें हम उनको बताएंगे ये मोबाइल यहाँ चोरी हुआ है। मैं कहा भाई किस दुनिया में बैठे हुए हो यार।
अच्छा, आई फील लाइक एक बहुत बड़ा मसला बहुत सारे एंटरप्रेन्योर्स के साथ होता है आइडिया का, कि यार ये जो मेरे पास आइडिया आ गया ना, इतना यूनिक है कि मैं इसको जो है ना इतना स्ट्रांगली गार्ड करूं कि हाँ कि किसी से डिस्कस नहीं करूंगा क्योंकि कोई चोरी कर लेगा। व्हाट आर योर व्यूज ऑन दैट? मेरी तो फंडामेंटल वो है कि आइडिया इज लाइक मे बी 4-5% ऑफ इट।
देखो यार, आई सेड दिस टू यू व्हेन आई स्पोक टू यू बैक इन अप्रैल 2022। आई सेड मुझे बहुत जल्दी है, राइट? एंड ही नोज आई एम वेरी इम्पेशेंट। इसने कहा क्या जल्दी पड़ी है? I said this to you. I said, I am under no delusion that I am the only person who has thought of this. If I have thought of this, and I'm not the smartest person in the room, there are a minimum of 5 other people within a 1 mile radius that have the exact same bloody idea. And the difference between me doing it and them doing it is opportunity. यही बात नहीं थी? मैं कहता I am under no delusion that I am the only one. So मैंने इसके साथ भी पूरा डिस्कस किया, जो बंदा बाद में मेरा को-फाउंडर बना उसके साथ भी पूरा डिस्कस किया, सादा पे वाले सीईओ के साथ, आसिफ जाफरी ईओ शो। I said bro, rip the idea to shreds because I am under no delusion that I have this great idea that has never been thought of before. And I'm grateful for that because it went through so many iterations before I even asked for a single dime from friends, family or investors. So I think ये fear जो है ना completely unfounded है। हाँ, कहाँ ये unfounded नहीं होता? जब आप बेवकूफ़ी की तरह अपने ही कंपेटिटर को जाकर खुद ही आइडिया बता देते हो इस उम्मीद में कि मेरा आइडिया सुन के या तो ये मुझ में इन्वेस्ट कर लेगा या मुझे हायर कर लेगा। देन यू स्टूपिड।
आइडिया के ऊपर होता ही है कि आइडिया इज मोस्टली लिमिटेड टू टॉक्स, सो यू कीप ऑन टॉकिंग अबाउट इट, यू डोंट टेक दैट स्टेप टू मेक इट हैपन। So
the action part, yeah.
So you from a talker you may need to become a doer.
Yeah.
बेशक उसका स्केल नीचे ही हो मगर उसको उस मोड को शिफ्ट करना बहुत जरूरी है। अब बहुत से लोग फियर ऑफ लूजिंग मनी के ऊपर ना आइडिया को शेल्फ कर देते हैं और उसके बाद ना 2 साल के बाद वो रोड पे दिखता है यार इसने खोल लिया और पूरे वक्त ना आपका कान चबाता रहेगा यार ये तो मैंने सोचा हुआ था। अगर सोचा हुआ था तो you should have taken a step to do it.
Fair enough. Yeah.
You know, and business is just not about an idea. You know, it's about the pain you need to go through.
Yeah.
You know, it's a very. I've saw somebody said that the basic success of business is how you manage the stress. If you expertise in managing your stress while doing a business, na, there is no limits then. क्योंकि ये जो stress management, क्योंकि नौकरी का stress एक अलग है जो नौकरी के टाइम के खत्म होने के बाद खत्म हो जाता है
अक्सर। हाँ, मोस्ट डेज
जो धंधे का स्ट्रेस है ना
तो
वो सोते में भी आता है। मतलब कि आपको नाइटमेयर्स आते हैं कि यार ये क्या हो रहा है, कल क्या होगा, कैसे होगा। इफ यू गेट कंफर्टेबल इन मैनेजिंग योर स्ट्रेस you are at the success ladder.
The advice I would give on that, so I agree with him on the stress thing, right? If I had to give advice to my younger self, would be to build a team faster. I think it took me, because I wasn't sure, right? I didn't know about the future. I couldn't increase my expenses. So, my younger self would have been like, bhai, kis basis pe? But now I'm saying it's easier for me to say it now because, we've been successful. But at that time, if I'd hired a few people to take some of my work, because every hour I would be wearing a different hat. I'd be a marketing head 1 hour. I'd be a retail head. I'd be a supply chain head.
लिमिटेशन ये होती है, वो दिमाग में ये होता है यार जितना पैशन मेरे अंदर है ना, मैं जब 4 लोग और होगा ना, क्या वो उस लेवल पे पैशन दिखाएंगे नहीं दिखाएंगे। और उसका तरीकेकार यही होता है, you need to give that stake to that person. So when I came in Legends as well, so my chief operating officer, my marketing officer, they're all stakeholders in it. So that
What do you mean by stakeholders?
I mean, they're equity partners.
they're
They're
equity
on the
partners.
board.
Okay, fine, nice.
So बहुत से नए businesses के अंदर होते हैं यार सब मेरा है.
हाँ.
ये सब मेरे के concept पे ना फिर इतने से रहोगे जिंदगी भर. तो you need to delegate, you need to get partners on board, working partners on board, so that they take the blunt along with you, because 4-5 minds together can make something big happen.
Can I ask you something related to that? I'm sorry, I'm not the host, but I want to ask you. So I've done the same. All my tech guys, product guys, they're all ESOP, both of,
Stock options, yeah.
stock options. I want to ask you, as a family-run business, it is a family-run business at the end of the day. How has that culture started changing in family organizations, the ability to share that equity with people? Because I've seen that as a challenge, and I've been some of the most amazing years of my life were with the Lakhanis. I was there for about 1.2 decades, and they're not like any other business family I've worked with. They're very entrepreneurial, very encouraging. But one of the struggles there, which thankfully has passed, was when they wanted to shift to this new Silicon Valley mindset of creating stakeholders around themselves, right? And I knew it was a challenge. Then I heard it was a challenge with the Lahore business families as well and other Karachi business families as well. How have you, or if you haven't, how do you plan to tackle that mentality of sharing?
So, I mean, I've seen my family business as a child throughout my life, right? And I am actually a CMA, a CPA as well. So I have a finance accountancy background also. So what we did from day one was we had agreements. We had drafted agreements between us. Okay, this is how it's going to work. This is your share. This is this person's share. This is the equity share. This is the investment share. So that's what we did. Employees ki. I'll tell you about the employees. So within us, within the family, we had everything laid out in black and white. I'm like, I don't want to get involved with family problems later on, like the kids fighting and the brothers and all of that. So that was sorted by kind of having an agreement drafted. What we did with employees, and this is what I learned in my life in Canada, everything was performance based. I was like, I'm not the shit. I'm not the person. Everyone has to take responsibility, and everything was performance based. So year one, we didn't have an HR department. We still had an appraisal process. We have goal settings and we have an appraisal process. We have one of an amazing performance evaluation system, and you get a salary increase based on that. So that's kind of what we've implemented.
But my question was specifically on sharing
but
equity.
Are you sharing equity with employees?
Or ESOP? That's where the family challenge comes in.
So that's the question, right?
Yeah.
So you have employee stock option?
So we don't yet, but the thing is that the industry doesn't, right?
Sure.
If the industry did, we would have had too. But we're competitively paying.
Sahi hai.
So our team has to be competitively paid. If my competitors were giving, equity, maybe, I would have considered that too. But I think retail industry ka ye benchmark nahi hai. I think it's more tech. It's more like all of that.
Yeah, because any business space, to add on to this, any business space, any new business coming in, they need to be heavily dependent on digitalization.
Acha,
So,
okay.
that manual
the
world is now
Scale
gone.
तो हो ही नहीं सकता.
अब digitalization के अंदर ना शुरू के अंदर मेरी भी बड़ी apprehension थी यार, इतने पैसे subscription में जाने सॉफ्टवेयर को देने के लिए, implementation कितने पैसे लग जाएंगे. मगर on a longer run, it makes your life super easy.
Yeah.
So you need to make that investment you need to automize your things. So that dependency on human resources, एक employee हुआ वो कल चला गया, फिर एक और को train करो.
Yeah.
That digitalization you should be coming in from day one. It is applicable on any sort of segment you go in. I mean, retail हो गया, service industry हो गई, construction industry हो गई. Any industry, there are applications available, solutions available for every industry in the market.
Acha, so how do you guys hire? Like when you are hiring someone, भले वो आप उसको equity दे रहे हो या ना दे रहे हो, of course equity वाले का standard थोड़ा different होगा, but what are the things that you're looking for? And what do you think is a general skill set gap in Pakistan? जो अगर एक से लो हैंगिंग फ्रूट कि अगर मुझे नौकरी करनी है इनसे रैप्टर लेजेंड्स और बच्चा पार्टी कि यार ये अगर मैं एक दो स्किल सेट्स अपने आप में बना लूँ तो मेरे पास एक बहुत अच्छी अपॉर्चुनिटी है यहाँ पे जाने की.
Hiring is a very, it's a very complex thing. It's not easy to hire.
Yeah, it's very difficult.
सही है. अब मैं एक रील देख रहा था, I forgot the name who said that. The best advice to hiring is to learn to fire fast.
हाँ.
Yeah.
सही है. So when you hire people, you can tell on day one that he's gone. बेशक आप उसको महीने या 2 महीने के बाद फायर करो, आपने दिमाग में डाल दिया होता है यार he's fired from my end.
Yeah.
So this mentality needs to come in. You need to be it's bad, but you need to be ruthless in terms of your hiring skills. If you are not comfortable with the resource you have hired, if he is not helping you in consuming that time, then there's no need of that person. He needs to take that burden and make it efficient for you. If that's not happening, you need to fire fast.
I think same. I agree with him. You have to be able to take difficult decisions for your business to move forward. But what we learned was what we were doing कि हम interview process को हम लंबा करके case studies डाल के present a project. What are you going to do in your 3 months? What are you going to do in 1 year? When you spend more time in the hiring process, what happens is you save time later. So yeah, once someone comes, we know we're going to fire them. 3 महीने बाद वो चले गया, we start the hiring process again. Interviews, training, onboarding. आपके 6-8 महीने निकल गए. That really costs the business. So, focus on the interview process. Make sure you're hiring the right person to save time later on.
Yeah, in my line of business, both previously and today, it's very tech and service related, right? So there's no one set criteria for hiring because it's so diverse. I mean, you hire programmers a very different way. Programmers are a lot similar to what he said. Programmers की जब interview होते हैं तो उनको programming के case studies होती हैं, tasks होते हैं, online होते हैं. There are tons of websites that are great. They do programmer developer test. जब आप system analyst वगैरह hire करते हैं, those are more personal and those are more interpersonal interviews because you're trying to understand analytical skills and stuff like that. Marketing sales के लोग hire करते हैं, that's mostly यारी दोस्ती वाले interviews because you're trying to understand ये बंदा मुझे represent करेगा, कैसे बात करेगा, क्या है. So it's a little all over the place, right? But one thing, if मैं अपनी इमरान खान की बात कर रहा हूँ, the one thread that I have consistent across all kinds of hiring is पहले भी Rapid में, उससे पहले AT&T and other places, I have hired primarily on culture.
Okay.
So, sorry.
Like culture of your existing business, like culture of how your
So the
business is
culture of
evolved.
the kind of people I want in the organization.
But don't the people then build the culture? And once your culture is established, sure, you figure out whether this person fits in or not.
Yes and no. You as an entrepreneur can also set a culture. So for example, there are companies that are doing fantastically but have shitty work cultures. You hear about them all the time. कि यहाँ नौकरी मिले तो ना लेना. Because it's top down, right? It's about how the taskmaster runs the ship, if you understand what I mean. So let's assume that there is a culture, whether that's built by me or by 3 of us. Let's assume it was me, Habib, and that one other guy who joined me who had a culture, right? And so एक लेवल आता है इंटरव्यूज लेने के बाद कि आपके पास एक रिसोर्स पूल बन जाता है, विच मीन्स यू गो लाइक मुबारिस का भी मोर और लेस वही टैलेंट है और इनका भी वही टैलेंट है, इनका भी इसका भी यही टैलेंट है. सो नाउ ऑल ऑफ दीज 4-5 आर फेयर गेम फॉर यू टू चूज. आउट ऑफ दोज आई ऑलवेज चूज ऑन कल्चरल रेजोनेंस. कौन मेरी कंपनी से, मेरे ईथोस से, मैं जो रिप्रेजेंट करना चाह रहा हूँ उससे मैच करता है. बिकॉज अगर वो मैच करेगा उसको मेरी बात भी समझ में आएगी, वो मेरे पैशन को भी अपनाएगा, वो मेरी कंपनी का पैशन भी अपनाएगा और आगे लेके जाएगा. Because I have fallen victim at once upon a time in my past life hiring based on standardized systems. And again, not naming and shaming, but generally बता रहा हूँ. CV होंगी तो सिर्फ IBLMs की होंगी, ये GPA की होंगी, ये फॉर्म फिल होगा, सिस्टम में डालेगा, HR वाली भी कुछ नहीं करेगी, सिस्टम खुद ब खुद ही उसमें से छांट के आपको देगा, इसको बुलाओगे. Had a terrible experience.
It doesn't work like that.
Terrible experience, right? So I just realized, and it's my 14th year hiring like that. Never failed. Hire people on who they are, the culture, obviously expertise there as well, but who they are, and you will find that they're with you, which is why now when I went to this company, 4 of the guys from my last company jumped ship and joined me, a startup, as compared to a multi-million-dollar company. कि यार मजा आएगा फिर से कुछ करते हैं. Do you understand? And I had no issues giving them ESOPs and this and that and all of that. So my philosophy has always been higher on cultural resonance.
I would say कि इसके अंदर my biggest thing that CVs आती हैं, बंदा आधा पढ़ लेता है. It's about how you make a judgment call on a person is. So there are 2 factors. Either a person is proactive or a reactive person. You can instantly tell who is proactive and who is reactive. So a proactive resource, regardless of the skill level, will always be beneficial.
So proactive मतलब कि वो खुद से इनिशिएटिव लेता है,
खुद से इनिशिएटिव
उसको कोई प्रॉब्लम नजर आती है, वो ये नहीं आगे कंप्लेन करता है, वो
ओनरशिप लेता है.
ओनरशिप लेके सॉल्व करके फिर बता देता है मैंने ये कर लिया.
I always tell people, all my employees, do your job in a way that eventually you start up your own business. when you have that mindset ना, you keep on learning and you become proactive. क्योंकि mindset जब आप बना लो ना, मैंने आज 5 साल नौकरी करनी है, 10 साल नौकरी करनी है और फिर मैंने अपना बिजनेस करना है, सो वो एक एलिवेट कर देता है आपकी जॉब लेवल को. सो ये माइंडसेट के साथ अगर कोई आपके पास एम्प्लॉय फोर्स आए ना, क्योंकि यू नीड टू इनकरेज पीपल इवेंचुअली. डूइंग अ जॉब shouldn't be the end of your thing, but that spark in somebody's mind, यार I'm coming here to learn. So he's going to benefit himself and the company as well.
You know, the appraisal की बात की, what's so funny is we deal with this all. I've dealt with this my entire life. I'm sure he does as well, and he will as well. लोग ना JD होती है ना नौकरी में लिखी हुई, तो लोग अपनी JD पूरी JD पूरी करते हैं और अप्रेजल में अपने आप को 5 दे के लिखते हैं above expectations. And then you sit down with them and you go like, यार तुमने हाँ क्योंकि मैंने ये, मैं कहा मगर तुम्हारी JD में तो यही लिखा हुआ था. हाँ तो मैंने कर लिया ना, तो मैं कहा फिर तो तुम मीट एक्सपेक्टेशन में ना. तो नंबर 3 इज मीट एक्सपेक्टेशन, 5 इज अबव और एक्सीड्स. क्यों नहीं, मगर मैंने सब तो कर लिया. मैं कहा मतलब तुम्हारी assumption ये थी कि ये JD जो थी तुम नहीं करते और तुम बोलते. So people are very confused in jobs as well, that they cannot expect growth or leadership if they're performing exactly for what they were hired for. That spark or that over and above or standing up and saying I'll be the initiative taker for this, that is what sets people apart. And I wish I get to hire more of those people.
And the problem with hiring in Pakistani culture is you always looking for a multitasker.
Which is a myth.
इसको ले लूं मैं और ये भी काम कर ले मेरा, ये भी काम कर ले.
Multitasking is a myth.
सही है, multitasking.
For the longest time, admin and HR का एक बंदा होता था.
ऐसे नहीं चलता.
For the long, आज भी कंपनियों में IT और फाइनेंस का एक बंदा है. Like the head of IT is also the head of finance. Reports. समझ में नहीं आती मुझे कभी भी चीज.
Yeah, लेकिन वो I understand that. I think उसके फिर वो लोग पैसे भी बचाने की कोशिश कर रहे हैं.
You can start with this mindset, but eventually when you are at a growth, a lot of people don't realize कि जब आप एक growth ladder climb कर लेते हो ना, तौर तरीके आपके रह जाते हैं small business वाले, but your numbers are of a middle income business, but people don't evolve with the culture. You need to quickly shift that, otherwise you know that high is gonna come so quickly down that you won't understand. यार मैं अभी 10 एम्प्लॉइज के साथ हूँ, मैं अगर 10 मिलियन का रेवेन्यू कर रहा था, मैं 100 का कर रहा हूँ और मेरे बंदे 10 ही हैं अभी तक. और वही काम कर रहा है, फाइनेंस वाला बैंक भी जा रहा है, वो मेरा फाइनेंस मैनेजर भी है, वो मेरे चेक भी डिपॉजिट कर रहा है, वो कैश भी निकाल रहा है, वो मुझे कैश फ्लो शीट भी बना के दे रहा है, और वही काम कर रहा है जो आप जब 10 मिलियन की कंपनी तो उस वक्त भी कर रहा है और अभी 100 मिलियन की तब भी कर रहा है.
या आई थिंक उस पर आप जो मोमेंटम को राइड कर रही होती हैं बिजनेसेस, वो फिर फेल हो जाती हैं उसमें. बट अनदर लास्ट क्वेश्चन अराउंड हायरिंग. The people you hire in the beginning obviously have to have a different skill set than the people you hire when you are a more stable ship. Is that true, or is that like is that not true really?
So I'll give you my example. So when we were starting off, we were hiring people, based on whatever standards. Mostly based on culture, based on multitasking. We had to multitask. At that time, कर रहा था IT and finance same बंदा. And later on, now we're hiring more experienced people who already have retail experience, people with evidence of success. We've taken this company from point A to point B, and this is what we're going to do to take you from point A to point B. So, from a startup culture to, more of a,
Yeah.
So I think that's
sense.
I think
difference.
very rarely do the people stay the same. I think the hiring process evolves. बहुत कम ऐसा होता है कि फॉर एग्जांपल टेक कंपनी में होता है कि अगर CTO आपके साथ शुरू से है तो वो हमेशा ही CTO और टॉप बंदा है बिकॉज उसने बिल्ड की है कोई चीज, एक्टिविटी और उसने बिल्ड की है, एक एक्सपर्टीज होती है. बट अदरवाइज ही इज एब्सोल्युटली करेक्ट. दैट्स हाउ वी स्टार्टेड. आई वोंट से bare minimum, I'm not disrespecting them, but just the right amount of expertise or level needed. And then when you get bigger, you go like, अब मुझे बंदा चाहिए प्रोडक्ट साइड का, अब मुझे बंदा चाहिए इस साइड का, स्पेशलिस्ट जो आए और हमें सिखाए कि ये चीज ऐसे करनी है.
शुरू में you benefit from generalists.
Yeah, because I was also doing a lot of the work in the start, right? I was working 16, 18-hour days, so now that's changed. So I need people, that can kind of take me forward.
And you also understand your business better now, right? You know कि ये function इस तरह perform होगा वगैरह, because you've done it, and that's an important skill set.
And we had a very different ride on hiring because the industry we tapped in had no benchmark.
Exactly.
There was nothing there. So हमें तो train करने पड़े लोग किसी और industry के, cause अब जब हमने कर लिया, अब जब competition आ रहा है तो they have people, अब offers आती हैं यार,
कि बंदे को तोड़ लो,
इसको निकाल लो. मगर माशाल्लाह से the culture is so good, everybody is so happy working here that we haven't lost an employee to a competitor yet.
So last question around growth. where is growth coming from? What does the future of your businesses look like?
So growth for Bacha Party, we're in 5 cities,
Yeah.
the entire country, so that's what we want to do. We want to have a retail outlet in tier 2, tier 3 stores.
How many do you think, what do you think is the maximum potential in Pakistan?
From based on what we've concluded right now, between 20 to 25 big stores.
Okay.
We're thinking of a smaller model also, like a pop shop, Bacha Party pop shop for smaller cities,
Do
for
you
example.
think e-commerce will eat into it?
Yeah, so that's what I was gonna. So you asked earlier advice for someone who's 25, 26
Yeah.
right now. So I think e-commerce is the way to go. Before COVID, for retail brands, e-commerce was between 2 to 4% of sales.
Yeah.
Now it's anywhere between 10 to 15% of sales.
And it's only going to increase.
It's only going to increase because mothers have access to internet. They're tech savvy. They've done it in COVID. They've gone through that curve, and I think आगे जो ज़माना है ना वो e-commerce का ही है. So any apps, any financial services, anything that can make your online experience easier, I think that's the way to go. One challenge in Pakistan in e-commerce is that, especially for Bacha Party, is that shopping is an event. It's an outing.
Yeah.
On a Sunday, the family goes to Bacha Party, then they go to a play area, then they go have dinner, come back, go to sleep, next day school. Like it's a routine. So that is not going to change,
क्योंकि वो कह रहा है कि मैंने खर्च तो करने ही है उतने पैसे.
तो उसकी outing बना दो.
उसका मैं एक वो भी बना. सही, fair enough.
So that's one of the challenges Bacha Party has, because it's kind of become an event for the
Yeah.
family to go to do on a Saturday or a Sunday. But I think aage ka time e-commerce ka, people are going to get busier. People want convenience. So to the younger audience, e-commerce, way to go.
What about you, Talal? Legends Arena कहाँ जा रहा है आगे?
हमने तो we are just a small baby right now. It's been 1 year, but as we started so aggressively, our growth plan is very aggressive as well. So the idea is to have legends in all the major cities of Pakistan, and also legends in all the tier 2 cities as well. Not on the same scale, but we'll have small centers in multiple cities of Pakistan. So probably in the next 4 to 5 years, we're targeting to have at least 15 centers across Pakistan.
That's big. And you think that's the market? Yes,
No,
और भी बहुत ज़्यादा.
there's a big market. It's more than this. There's a population level is so high.
Yeah, 24 करोड़ 25 करोड़ लोग हैं.
वो उसके अंदर है नहीं. Plus the demographics इस तरह के off the book 1 घंटा महंगा तो लगता है. For example, futsal ground है.
Yeah.
6,000 रुपए का घंटा है. मगर when you divide it over 10 people, it's $500. 11 people 6 on 6 खेल रहे हैं, 500 रुपए जा रहे हैं जेब से, तो it's not that much. So I think it's the growth level is, and plus sports entertainment has no limit. When it becomes part of your lifestyle now, then it becomes a necessity.
और इसका substitute भी कोई
हाँ, अब बड़ी फनी स्टोरी बताता हूँ ना. हमारे पास व्हाट्सएप में मैसेजेस आ रहे होते हैं स्लॉट्स के लिए, तो लोग बकायदा ही लिखते हैं, यार आई कांट कॉन्सेंट्रेट ऑन वर्क, काइंडली प्लीज गिव मी अ स्लॉट. तो एडिक्शन हो गई है खेलने की.
Fair enough. I understand that.
It's a good addiction to have.
Yeah, of
it
course,
serves the people who are
Yeah.
playing it, like enhances their
And
lifestyle.
with the female, we have, imagine females playing 3 a.m. You don't find places
Anywhere.
not in Karachi, even पूरे पाकिस्तान में नहीं मिलती, in a safe environment playing at 3 a.m.
Actually, that's a very good perspective to add as well, because I don't think there's a lot of safe public spaces for women.
अब हम अपना
Generally,
जब
yeah.
इंस्टा का वो खोलते हैं अपना पेज, so we see the male female categories. We have a 35% female following,
Okay, wow.
which is pretty high.
So in terms of, एक तो हो गई आपकी facilities बढ़ गई, आपने number of facilities बढ़ा दिया with the same kind of things, but what else can Legends do to grow? And say if someone wants to partner with you, where are the avenues के कोई आके बोले यार आपके साथ मैं वो partner
So
कर सकता हूँ?
as I told you, it took us 5 years to get a piece of land.
ठीक है.
Now I get a call every day, land is available, partner with us.
ठीक है.
So we can't go everywhere.
Of course, yeah.
So we have a couple of models running around. One is a model in which we come as an operator. So the land is yours, the investment is yours. We take a certain percentage of the revenue coming as an operator. We run the marketing campaign from our social media. We run the operations for you. And we have our app running the whole show. So you come in as a silent investor and do the complete investment, and we are running the show for you.
Kind of like franchisee. Okay.
It's franchise, but the operations will always stay with us.
ठीक है.
Because that's where the whole
Experience is.
experience changes. As soon as the customer experience drops down, you're out of the game.
समझ गया. ठीक है. No, that's very interesting. So that way you can scale very quickly as
Yep,
well. Yeah.
yep.
क्योंकि आपको सारा capital.
We've already done it we've done it at JKC.
Okay.
We're doing it at HMR. We're doing it in Faisalabad. It's coming up. Although that's a mixture of both things, in which we are also a minority equity partner.
ठीक है.
But the operations are under
And
us.
you're going to Lahore and Islamabad soon.
Lahore as well. Lahore is similar to
Karachi. Okay, fine.
So
It's
Lahore
a big
is,
facility.
Yeah, Lahore is a big one. I mean, it's in terms of land size, not that big, but it'll have all the things which we have in Legends.
Excellent. So Imran, Raptr, future.
Yeah, that's not a very simple question. But if let's say talk about the next 24 months, let's put it that way. So what we focused on the next 24 months is a lot more esports in tier 2 and tier 3 cities, because we are trying to create a formal industry around it. And we seem to be on the path to that. We have some great partners with us, some great sponsors. And all I can say is that where we are going in the next 2 years, the way PSL changed how cricket was viewed domestically, it was a game changer, completely revitalized or created a more formal domestic industry around cricket. We are right now working on exactly the same framework.
ठीक है.
So we hope to have something like an ESL or whatever you call it, EPSL or anything. We are recruiting players. We are creating a directory of players because, as I mentioned, our gaming ID is a KYC'd ID, because we want over the next 2 years to be able to create franchisable teams out of all
और
the big
teams किस
cities.
तरह work करती हैं कि for example एक हमने जिस तरह एक football club होता है उस तरह वो players hire करते हैं. That's a team.
अब मिसाल ले लें, लाहौर कलंदर कह रहे
चलो
हैं,
सही है.
अज्यूम कर लें कि हमने आसानी के लिए उन्हीं 6-8 लोग को बोला जो ऑलरेडी इस कॉन्सेप्ट को समझते हैं कि यार आप क्रिकेट पे कर ही रहे हैं, आप ई स्पोर्ट्स पे कर लें,
ठीक है.
राइट? तो एग्जैक्टली वैसे ही होगा. लाहौर कलंदर अगर टेकन की टीम बना रही होगी, टेकन के रोस्टर में वही बिड्स होंगी, ये प्लेयर होंगे, इसका ये है, राना साहब टेकन के 2-3 बंदे उठा लेंगे, कोई कैप होगी, वैलोरेंट के 1-2 बंदे उठा लेंगे, 1-2 टीम उठा लेंगे, काउंटर स्ट्राइक की उठा लेंगे. And by the end of the auction process, you will have like 8 franchise owners who will have teams for every game that you have auctioned.
ठीक है.
उनकी तनख्वाहें होंगी, PSL वाला मॉडल यार, उनकी तनख्वाहें होंगी, किटें होंगी, खर्चा होगा. So we are already started working on that with 2 large brands, right? And we want to make it alive by the end of 2026.
Okay.
Because it's a mammoth
It's a big
endeavor,
undertaking,
right?
yeah.
So that's one thing that I want to openly say that we are doing. The other thing that is in the next 24 months is with the app and the ecosystem that we are launching with Raptr GG and Raptr Wallet, we want to create a converged space for pop culture aficionados. So it's not just games, because देखिए हमारे मुल्क में access to gaming commodities बहुत मुश्किल है. 85% कैश इकोनॉमी है, बच्चा खुद खरीद नहीं सकता. एडल्ट्स को भी मसला होता है कि मैं फेसबुक मैसेंजर में एक बंदे को मैसेज कर रहा हूँ, वो कह रहा है पहले इजी पैसा कर दो, मैं तुम्हें कोड बाद में भेजूंगा, कार्ड उसका चलता नहीं है, किसी भी ऑनलाइन उस पर पाकिस्तानी कार्ड नहीं चलते, राइट? सो ये बहुत बड़ा मसला, तो आपको पता है हमने कितनी मुश्किल से सॉल्व किया, सिंगापुर, यूएस वगैरह एंटिटीज़ और पैसे और क्या सब करके, बिकॉज वी वांट टू इनेबल कि लोग कैश इस्तेमाल करके वही डिजिटल एक्सपीरियंस ले सके जो कार्ड से करते हैं. लेकिन वाइल वी वर बिल्डिंग दिस प्रोडक्ट, हमें इतनी डिमांड आई कि उसी टारगेट डेमोग्राफिक की जो बाकी पॉप कल्चर नीड्स हैं, कॉमिक्स, मैंगा, merchandise, action figures, streetwear, jute, skids, all of these things. So the next 24 months is us working already with about 6 new partners to create a convergence of that target demographic. कि वो जब Raptr Games की ecosystem में आए, तो वो lifestyle जो उसको represent करता है, उसके लिए वो एक one stop shop हो. And I believe जिस तरह ये digital की बात करते थे, वो भी, we have 0 brick and mortar presence. You know how big our staff is.
Yeah.
Our entire eggs are in the digital bucket. हम स्केल ही उस वक्त कर सकते हैं अगर हम हर चीज़ को डिजिटाइज करें और डिजिटल डिलीवरी ऑफ गुड्स करें. सो दैट्स इट. सो द ESL थिंग दैट वी टॉक्ड अबाउट एंड अ कन्वर्जेंस ऑफ ऑल पॉप कल्चर components within our ecosystem.
And a lot more events.
eSports and a lot more events. So we're already starting tier 2 this quarter. By next year, I'm really hoping we can find good partners to do tier 3 with in as well. Because वो मैंने भी learn करना है. I really genuinely want to learn that.
Excellent. Thanks so much, guys. I genuinely learned so much from this episode and this discussion, really. And I wish you guys good luck. Let's keep in touch.
Thank you.
Thank you,
so
man.
much.
Thank you for everything.